no one has ever fought before.
Trump is the bodyguard of Western civilization.
You want to talk about a fighter? A walk through fire. He's an absolute savage.
He knows that this is much bigger than him. This is about the American people. They have no idea what they have unleashed. He was ready to go face the cameras and come out swinging.
What will future Americans say we did in our brief time here on Earth? It will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright. And the future belongs to us.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, A Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How are you doing? What's up, everybody? It is Monday night. It is July 20th, 2026, which means it's a conversation with just Alpha. It's me and you and whoever is in your home or vehicle with you. I just want to say I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope we have a good week ahead of us. Looks like it's going to be a busy week, packed with a little bit of some more big news. So with that, you guys, do me a solid. The show is live, because I know somebody's always going to ask. Drop those loud and clears. Drop those 5x5s. Let me know on the different platforms that you guys are able to hear me. Mods, if you're here today, thanks for being here. Keep an eye on the chat. Let it get rowdy. I don't mind a few bar fights. Just make sure nobody shanks each other, and we'll be good to go. Some of the stuff we're going to be talking about, we're going to kind of cover obviously the big Trump speech that everybody's talked about, and I see those 5x5s coming in. So thank you guys for that. Much appreciated. We'll talk about the fallout from the Declas that we have in these early phases from President Trump's speech on the 16th. Are we in a checkmate? It's kind of interesting. Is there a blackout incoming? Are we looking at a potential EBS? We've definitely received some signals. We'll be talking about that tonight. CCP assets, the CCP puppets, the CCP simps are in a panic. I can't wait to get to that part of the show. And then, depending how time goes tonight, hopefully we can get into the Candace Owens op. And then, of course, we got comms, because there will be always comms at the end of the show on all of these shows. And again, if whatever we don't cover tonight will be covered on Just Alpha 2.0 tomorrow with our surprise show. Tomorrow's actually going to be a long show too. So tonight's goal, 2.5 hours. But if we're on a roll, we're on fire, and I'm not feeling like I'm going to pass out, maybe we go for 3. So just let me know how you guys are doing. Also, let me know where you're at in the country. Let me know where you're at in the world. Don't dox yourselves and get too specific, but let me know what state you're from. If you're from a big state, let me know. If you're from, like, Southern California, Central California, Northern California, same thing with Texas and some of these other things. I definitely want to get a feel for where everybody's at. Alan says, drink water. I got my coffee with my good brew in it, and then I got my water right over here, and then I got my Pet Club stuff that's on standby after the show. So it's going to be a good night, folks. So with that, speaking of stuff that I have and why I'm able to go the distance the way I do, you guys, I've had them on the show about 2 or 3 times already, and we're talking about Neutronics Labs. But let me get the easy stuff out front. Going to support your immune system. You're going to burn fat. You're going to love that part, right? Man or lady, you're going to love the fact that you're going to burn fat in a healthy way. You're also going to build muscle. Alpha, I don't go to the gym. It's crazy what putting the right kind of stuff in your body will be. Now, if you want to get some bad boys like this, you're going to have to go push some iron, but you will build muscle. You're going to improve your joint health. You're going to improve your sleep. And one of the most important things, especially given what we've all have been through the last 10 years, is stress. Some of you probably feel it. Some of you are probably driving home right now, and you can feel it. And this stuff is going to help you combat stress. It's going to help you combat that cortisol, right? Talk about the kryptonite of the great machine that God built for our bodies. So, you're going to have that. And of course, it's going to boost your energy and libido. And of course, the result of that stuff, I'm going to keep this very professional, is going to be the mood and certain companionships. That's also going to reduce your cortisol. You guys are all adults. Y'all get what I'm saying and where I'm going with that. So I'm talking about Neutronics Man's Edge, the testosterone booster. This one right here, folks. Let me get it as close as you can. So I've seen a lot of you are buying this stuff. I love it. Of course, with that, when you get the subscription, you're going to get this bad boy for free. This is the 300,000 nanogram one, but this is also the one that contains the anti-aging formula. We're talking Velvet Deer Antler, if you guys are wondering, this one right here. So hopefully you got it. Now, you guys know I've said it. I've upgraded to this bad boy right here, which is the same as the little ones, that this is 1 million nanograms. So 300,000, 1 million. Now, with that, folks, ladies, they have a specific lady formula. Has some cranberry stuff in there and things like that for you. The Boom Diggity says, Alpha selling me some type of juice. It is what it is. It's gonna build your confidence. It's your mood, your energy. So, but that's not all that it does. This stuff is very good for you. It's going to amplify all the good stuff of you guys. So again, with that, Boom Diggity put me on the spot. Go to neutronicslabs.com/alpha for 50% off with auto ship, and get, again, this platinum bottle of IGF-1 completely free of charge. Now here's the kicker, folks. If you use code alpha, you're going to get an additional 10% on top of the 50% which is going to bring you to a hardcore 60%. So again, neutronicslabs.com/alpha, whatever platform you're watching on, you're going to see that link down in the description. And some of the other platforms might have a different promo code that's some type of alpha code in there. But if you're watching on Rumble, promo code alpha, get that additional 10%. Also, with that, you guys know the secret sauce to this beautifulness. We'll be back right now.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust to your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
Now for the lowest price ever. Kings, $19.98. Queens, only $18.98. And Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, for as low as $29.98. Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But that's not all. Order right now and we'll ship your order absolutely free.
Absolutely free, folks. All the links to my partners, affiliates, and sponsors down in the description below. And so many of you message me and email me and write me cards and be like, hey, Alpha, I wish I was in a better position. I would love to contribute. Don't worry about it. Just show up. Your presence here is what matters. And the people that have the ability to help support this show, they'll do it. God's always going to make sure that I have what I need and my family has what they need. So don't stress on whether you can buy stuff from my affiliates or whether you can donate to my show. Don't stress over that. All right. This show is going to happen regardless. I don't care if we got like a solar thing because I can't afford electricity. This show will always happen. Just show up. Show up, take the information, do your best to vet the information that's out there. Make sure that, you know, you're not just in agreement with me, but that the information I provided is factual and it makes sense. And then go out and share. That's your contribution. Go out and share. So with that, the other thing I want to say too is, folks, just take a breath right now. I feel a lot of anxiety from you guys. I feel a lot of angst from you guys. Let me remind you guys, if you believe in God like I do, this story's already written. We know how it ends. God wins. Now, we have a responsibility to help facilitate that win, but regardless, we win. Now, what that win looks like has a lot to do with our involvement and how much we commit and how much we sacrifice. But just remember, folks, take a deep breath and just remember, if God is for us, then whom shall we fear? Like, let that be your model. And I want to remind you guys, no matter how busy the day gets, I'm on social media. I have a lot of friends on there. And unfortunately, it just seems like it's happening more and more where some of these friends are passing away for whatever reason it may be. So just remember, folks, more important than this podcast, more important than this country is family, is the people that you love. Don't get so focused on what I'm doing, what other media is doing, what the world is doing, that you forget about what's important. All right? Is this podcast nor any other podcast should come before your husband, your wife, or your kids. So we all make mistakes. I get caught up. You get caught up. But I just want to remind you guys, remember what we're fighting for, right? And so with that, let's get into the show tonight. It's going to be a good one. We got some wins. We got some good stuff. I hope my energy comes through. Let me just, how are you can, right? Let me do some Street Fighter, get my energy out to you guys. I'm feeling good. I hope you guys are feeling good. Shout out to all my friends and family that are watching. Shout out to the locals, folks. I'm meeting local people. I was at the mall and somebody's like, Alpha? And I was like, get the hell out of here, right? I'm like, I'm mini famous, right? It was super cool. So if you're watching tonight, I hope you and your mom enjoy the show. Folks, SCOTUS Wire, the Third Circuit sitting in Bank, has struck down New Jersey's ban on semi-automatic rifles and its ban on magazines holding more than 10 rounds. I hope you're listening, Bonta and Newsom here in California, ruling both violate the Second Amendment under Bruin. We are going to see more and more wins like this. Trust me, California stressing the Ninth Circuit is just like, we're just not gonna be liberal anymore. We're transing into conservatives. It's freaking glorious, right? I'm here in Cali. We're fighting the fight. All you Cali people that are here with me, let me know. We got to get some of these Cali groups together. It's a big state. We probably got to split it up into 3. But again, this is something that we're probably going to see a big win from California pretty soon, especially on the heels of Harmeet Dillon sending them a bunch of nasty grams saying you better get your shit together because you're violating people's constitutional rights. Absolutely love it. So there's a win right there. What else do we got? Eric Doherty puts out, it's official. Within 1 hour of leftist judges forcing out President Trump's U.S. attorney in Seattle, Trump has fired Roger Rogoff. Trump's pick for U.S. attorney is now back in the position. Hardball mode. AG Todd Blanche, quote, district court judges can appoint a temporary U.S. attorney and POTUS can fire them. WDWA judges abandoned the time-honored process of consultation with the administration so that the selected U.S. attorney is qualified to serve in the administration. Roger Rogoff has been fired by the president. Again, all those people telling you nothing's happening. We're going to get, I want to get into stuff sometimes. I got to remind myself, you created a show for tonight. Stick to it. But I'm fired up. Tammy's out here in Riverside County. Man, you know, for all you folks, if you're San Diego County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, or Imperial County, you guys, let's get a group together and try to meet every other month or something like that. So again, Southern California, right? San Diego County, Orange County, Los Angeles County, San Bernardino, Riverside, Imperial. We're all, you know, we're SoCal. We should definitely get together. I think that would be super cool. I'd like you guys to meet my family too. Rapid Response 47 gets a screenshot from Trump's Truth Social. We are holding Canada responsible for the fact that they are not properly maintaining their forests and brush therein, and the United States is being unnecessarily invaded by filthy, polluted, and unhealthy air, the quality of which is dangerous and totally unacceptable. I will call the Prime Minister during the day to find out what they are doing or what they are going to do about it. The cost is incalculable. Canada has refused to engage in basic forest management and debris removal, knowing that such refusal would lead to exactly this result. This is willful negligence and becoming a yearly occurrence, costing the United States billions of dollars, which cost of this pollution must of necessity be added to the tariffs Canada is currently paying. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Newsom and Bonta, I hope you guys are listening to that and get your guys' force stuff under control. Again, VC Carmen out there in Chino Hills. I was living out there for a little bit, for a couple of years. I'm fired up, man. So many close. Grace Queen Indio? No way. That's my home stomping grounds. That's where I grew up. Indio La Quinta Coachella. Sorry, folks, but I just didn't realize how many freaking Alpha Warrior Patriots we had around here. Super freaking cool. You guys got me fired up. If you guys don't have my email, alpha@thealphawarriorshow.tv, alpha@thealphawarriorshow.tv, or thealphawarriorshow@protonmail.com. thealphawarriorshow@protonmail.com. Both those go directly to my pocket, my phone. So don't take advantage of that. If it's not something emergency, don't blow me up. All right, let's keep going. Speaking of blowing up, we have that here in the news, unfortunately. FBI, a former senior advisor for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, was sentenced this week to 38 months in federal prison in connection with making false statements to federal investigators about sharing restricted Federal Reserve information with Chinese intelligence operatives. Learn more about this investigation. Let me just scroll down here. When Rogers made the decision to share sensitive economic information with the Federal Reserve and give it to China's intelligence service for personal gain, he betrayed both his country and his oath as a federal employee. As this case makes clear, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, is employing increasingly aggressive tactics in its campaign to gain a strategic economic advantage over the U.S. by targeting our financial policies, trade secrets, and innovation. However, this sentencing underscores the FBI's unwavering commitment to pursuing anyone who threatens our economic and national security and bringing them to justice. This post came out just a few hours before Trump came out and did the speech on the 16th, this past Thursday. For those of you that are new to the show, welcome. On Mondays, we do a conversation with Just Alpha, and it's everything, typically it's everything that I think, well, it's everything that I find of value, priority value to get in front of the audience from last Monday to this one. Some weeks we go into Tuesday, like we probably will end up this week. And so then the news is kind of like from Tuesday or Wednesday to today. So just to give you guys an idea of what's going on. And again, if you're new here, smash that thumb, push the little heart, leave a comment, share this out. The content is free. But here, folks, you have all these people. Some of you are guilty of it. I love you, but I'm going to call you out on it. You're worthy of arrest, Alpha. Some of you are so focused. I want to see Obama in handcuffs. Obama in handcuffs? Do you think that stops child trafficking? Obama in handcuffs, do you think that stops the deep state? Hillary Clinton? No, folks. We want them in handcuffs. They will be. But understand, those are more symbolic because there are people there to replace them. So when you say no one's getting arrested, these are the arrests that have impact. These are the arrests that send messages, whether it's a message to the Chinese intelligence apparatus, which is essentially just an extended arm of the deep state. This, folks, is what makes a difference. When people say there's no big arrests, and we have nearly 70,000, not 70,000 human traffickers, to include child traffickers, arrested, that is what stops. Because guess what? These guys they're not just doing human trafficking. They're the same ones that are doing narcotics trafficking. These are the same ones that are doing weapons trafficking. Those arrests have way more immediate impact. Okay. They have way more immediate impact than arresting someone like Hunter Biden or Obama. Those are symbolic. I know why we want those. We want to be vindicated, but understand there's a plan. And if you know what that plan is, and you can articulate what that plan is, then you should probably trust it. If you don't, then you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust a plan that you know nothing about. Let's keep going. We're going to get into that. Criminal Division. Former Census Bureau program manager sentenced to prison for bribery and procurement fraud and conspiracy. It is there, folks. There's a few more. I went with the ones that were big. This one was kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys saw this. OSINT Defender put it out. Both Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested by the U.S. Marshals outside of a private event in Miami, Florida, following an extradition request by the UK government against the brothers on over 50 charges related to, we'll say, sexual assault, just because we're on some other platforms, and I want to make sure that audience over there gets to see the show. Arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, assault, occasionally actual bodily harm, as well as additional charges relating to illegal child images and pornography. Now, listen, if there is evidence to support these things, 100%, these guys need to be held accountable for. However, also got to understand that this is coming out of the UK government, a government that I don't trust. Okay. If I struggle to trust our government, you think I'm going to trust the UK government? Not a damn chance. And we know that the UK government is, they are compromised. They are controlled by the deep state apparatus. So are they coming after the Tate brothers because these are legitimate charges? Or are they coming after the Tate brothers because of their influence? Regardless of where you stand, I just want to remind people, let's also be aware of that. And again, if this is something that needs to happen, I'm sure the U.S. Marshals will continue with that process. But if I understand it correctly, I think they did get arrested, but I think they got released because somebody, I'm trying to remember the name, is looking into it. So don't have the update on this just yet. But I just want to remind everybody, if it's legit, yes, these are horrific crimes. And, millstone, ocean, you guys know the Bible verse. But if they're not, remember that. I know what it's like to have, criminal charges thrown against me and I was innocent. So let's just be careful. Nana Bear says they're influencers. I'm not sure if somebody wasn't familiar with them. But yeah, I am not a fan of their content or what they teach the young men. But again, in the absence of real men wanting to speak up, this is the guys that our young men find, which is unfortunate. Eric Dowdy, now Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announces there is $1 trillion in confirmed gold at Fort Knox. The gold is still there. Question, have you visited Knox? I have this played for you guys. Let me bring this up.
Wasn't exactly an even trade, but for President Trump, it was pretty even.
He usually comes out on top.
Not usually, always.
Always. What are we looking at here? These look exquisite.
Yeah, so these are the displays of our currency over the years. Some of it, like we used to have silver certificates. We used to be backed by silver, sometimes gold. And then in the 70s, we just went to what was called fiat currency, where you didn't have to keep gold or silver in the vault. If any of these are still outstanding, though, the silver or gold for them is at Fort Knox, waiting for them to be claimed if so needed.
Have you visited Fort Knox?
I haven't. People on my staff has. We're going to the Treasurer's office. The Treasurer has been to Fort Knox, and I am happy to say all gold is present and accounted for. The U.S. has the largest pile of gold in the world, over $1 trillion at current market value.
And we're getting more gold from Venezuela.
Were y'all picking up what Scott was putting down? Here's the thing. Sometimes I wonder, am I listening a little too hard? He focuses on the currency being backed by silver and gold, and then makes a point, a conversation a lot of you have heard if you've watched this podcast or if you watched other podcasts on the fiat. And is he signaling that we're going to go back to silver, or we're going to go back to gold? And here's the other thing. I thought we were going to get video of that Fort Knox audit that's going on. Now, he did say that they're gonna be going over there, but that his people are there and he's happy to report that. But $1 trillion in gold. Now, the other thing that was interesting, he says, and if there's outstanding certificates here waiting to, claim this $1 trillion worth of gold plus whatever silver we have is there to fulfill that. That was kind of interesting. Is there a good side to our government or America or the president that has these bonds? Are these things that are going to be given to Americans? I don't know. I'm firing from the hip here. But again, I will say it's a very interesting statement by Scott Bessent. So again, let's just keep tabs on there. I would say if you have a little extra dough, you may want to get yourself some silver or some gold. EH Kyle says, Alpha, we have 4,583 metric tons of gold, which is 147.3 million ounces, priced at $42.22 an ounce, according to statue. If you have a link to where you got that, send that to me, man. I'd appreciate that. Let's keep going. Eric Dowdy again, breaking. Stephen Miller announces the Trump administration and Secretary Scott Bessent are moving to debank illegal aliens, making it unbearable to stay in America based. Once illegal aliens lose their access to capital, that is going to be the major driver of self-deportation. We are not going to allow illegal aliens to use banking services in this country. Contrary to popular perception, the stupid phrase about illegal aliens living in the shadows, illegal aliens don't live in the shadows. Illegal aliens have credit cards. I have this clip for you guys. Let me hit play on this one.
We've begun the process of identifying the firms, the contractors that are engaged in this criminal activity, and you're going to begin to see a very severe crackdown. The early reports I've gotten on that are very promising. And then we also have begun in earnest implementing our banking integrity measures. So you may remember President Trump signed an executive order a few weeks ago saying that we are not going to allow illegal aliens to use banking services in this country. You know, contrary to popular perception, you know, the stupid phrase about illegal aliens living in the shadows. Illegal aliens don't live in the shadows. Illegal aliens have credit cards, they have bank accounts, and they're paid with direct deposit. So illegal aliens fully participate in the commercial systems, the financial systems of America. Shutting that down is a massive engine for deportation. And so the Treasury Department just issued new guidance to financial institutions, to banks. And so the next step in this process is us meeting individually with banks and financial institutions on cooperating with us to remove illegal aliens from the banking system. Once illegal aliens lose their access to capital, that is going to, again, be a major driver of self-deportation.
Here's the thing. When you see a lot of these people, and a lot of them I'm so disappointed in, because these are some of the people that infiltrated our movement and gained influence. I'm not going to say their names. You guys pretty much know a lot of them that I'm talking about. And these people will come out and say, oh, Trump's deportation numbers are down. They're less than Obama. And these are people that I know have the same information that I do, that it's open source info. It's not like it's secret. You just got to go dig in and bring it to the surface. So let's go and address this real quick, because it's been a couple of years since we've had this conversation, and I won't spend too much time on it. Understanding Obama's deportation numbers means you got to understand what they considered a deportation. Now, when Border Patrol would contact illegals or people who were going to be illegal, because technically they weren't illegal yet, because they weren't on our territory, they weren't on our land. When they would contact these people and turn them around, they got caught before they can actually commit the act of invading our country. That got documented as a deportation, but it's not. It's a turnaway. Okay. So when you look at the actual physical numbers of people that were apprehended inside of the United States and deported, Obama's numbers were extremely low. So one, understand this illusion of deportations that they try to sell through Obama as administration as deportation. So there's that. The second part, when they talk about Trump's deportation numbers, one of the numbers they neglect to mention is self-deportation. And these are people, whether it be through some of the offers that Trump made, whether it's through Trump making things hard for them, whether it's through Trump deporting one of the family members that then gets the entire family member to leave. Self-deportations, including the number of deportations Trump's doing through apprehensions, is at our country's all-time high. And these people won't report that to you because, again, they're trying to push an agenda. They're trying to push a narrative. So just understand that when it comes to deportations, including self-deportations, Trump's numbers are through the roof. And again, this is one of those things. He is going to remove their ability to do banking. Now, why does this matter? Because once you do this, it's a hell of a lot harder to go and buy stuff, to pay stuff. It's harder to send money back to their family. Do they want to do it through Western Union? Well, some of these places like Western Union are not going to take some of these fake IDs or matriculas. They're going to want an actual ID. So again, it's going to make it harder for these people to do it. Or some of these places that will cash their checks or will send them this money are going to charge them astronomical numbers, especially knowing that these people can no longer do it through the banking institutions. So now they're going to lose 20 to 30% of their money, depending on how much these people raise it, because they already had high prices. The fact that Trump just did this, I guarantee you, all these check cashing places and these wire places instantly are upping their rates because they know what's coming and they want to make that money. So again, this is going to encourage self-deportations. This just shows that Trump is an absolute mastermind when it comes to our country. Promises made, promises kept. Harmeet Dillon brought her up a little while ago. Excited to launch the joint with the Department of Justice and DHS.gov election integrity website, an interactive map showing what actions the federal government is taking to improve election security, transparency, and integrity for all Americans, updated regular. And if you guys want to go check that out, go to civilrights.justice.gov, civilrights.justice.gov. And I'll drop that comment, or if one of you guys wants to put that in the comment section, and then I'll pin it. Somebody says there's a troll. Who's the troll? Give me a name. When you guys say troll, give me troll with a name so I can go find these people. Who am I gonna? Let's see. Got my sniper clicker, my sniper mouse clicker out. Let's see. Who's the troll on Rumble? Or do you guys just not like someone? This is Survivor. All right, we got. Hold on. Oh, for you guys watching on YouTube and the other platforms, hold on. We're doing a little Survivor over here on the Rumble chat. We're about to find out who's going to get kicked off the island. So give me a second. Someone do the drums. Let's see. Nobody. You guys aren't. Nobody's giving me a name. You guys just trying to distract me? We've got a show going on here. Okay, somebody's saying Crimson King. Crimson King. Colt. All right, Crimson's. Okay, it's a Colt. So you guys let me know. Do you guys want me to kick Crimson King off the island, or do you guys just want to beat Crimson King up for a little bit? I'll let you guys I'll let you guys go carnivore if you want. So you guys let me know. Ones, you want to get rid of Crimson King. Two, you guys just want to go cannibal and you guys will handle it yourself. So one's the boot. Two, you guys want to keep them around and you guys want to do some street justice. I'll let you guys figure it out. But I'll keep an eye out. And so whoever is the majority will go there. even YouTube saying two because they're like, we're getting distracted over here. They want to do carnivore stuff. All right, we'll see. It's kind of balanced. All right, looks like Crimson King doesn't get to stay. All right, Crimson King, we're only going to boot you for this one live stream. Maybe this will be a learning experience and you'll come back to the next one. You got to make it. Listen, if they're going to distract the show, we got to make it a little bit fun. So you guys win. Crimson King is no longer on the Rumble. All right, let's keep going. By the time we get to the end of the show, I'm gonna be like, this is boot. I'm gonna be so tired. But right now we're motivated. It's earlier in the night. I got my coffee. What are you guys drinking tonight? One of these days, I'm gonna have a producer that I'm gonna be like, hey, why am I doing all this? Like, you can handle it for me. Toria Brooke puts out new Vice President JD Vance. Now, before I give you guys my opinion on this, if you saw this video already, let me know if you like what JD Vance said here. Okay. If you think this was a fail, let me know that it's a fail and why. Because I've been monitoring this particular video clip on different social medias, and I've been very interested on this. Now, obviously, there's always a narrative that gets pushed, but I've been monitoring like what I know as a normal Joe and Jane, and I've been very interested in what I've seen here. So if you've seen this video and you thought it was solid and your thumbs up, JD, all right, cool, let me know. But if you didn't like it, you think it was a fail, let me know fail, but don't just say fail, let me know why. So with that, let me hit this clip right here. This is JD Vance talking about the binder. Tell me I got this. I didn't just pump that all up and not have the clip for you. Yeah, here it is.
Again, say this with all candor, we absolutely screwed up the comms of the Epstein files, like we just did. But do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No. I think the reason we screwed up the comms of the Epstein files is one, Pam Bondi said the client list is on my desk, right?
Well, they had binders. They were standing in front.
But those binders were largely documents that had already been released, right? So let me try to
what was the
defend.
purpose of that performative display of the Epstein files? And she was saying there's tens of thousands of hours of film.
I don't know what the purpose of it was, but I know that the effect of it was to make people mistrust the entire effort. And what I think was happening, look, I know Pam, I like Pam, I don't think there's anything malicious going on. I think Pam was trying to respond to the political moment. I think she overstated what we had and what we didn't have. And I think that she, got roasted for it publicly by a lot of people, including me. You and I have talked about this a lot. I'm one of the OG Epstein conspiracy theorists. I've probably gone down every single rabbit hole. We could go down most of them today. Look, the original sin.
And so now that you guys have had a chance to see this, I am seeing a lot of people come out and call this an epic failure by Vice President JD Vance. And I'm like, did you listen to what he was saying though? Let me bring some of the things he said to the surface here. One, he goes, well, everything in those binders was things that was already released. Now, I want to remind you back to when these binders got deployed. And for some of us that have, some, professional relationships with some of the people that got these binders, they came into some of these virtual town halls known as X spaces. And some of them did it a little early because there was a time when they were supposed to do it. But eventually some of them released the table of contents, right? Or you saw it while they were holding it and they hold it and you could see it. But the thing, and this is one of the things that I caught right when they did it, and this is what I was talking about. I go, this is interesting. And it was something it was not that said, it specifically said 6 phases. Now, my question here, where I want to get you guys' brains going, is if JD Vance is saying, well, this is all information that we already had, then why would you do 6 phases? Why would Pam Bondi do 6 phases? Now, again, he comes out and he says, yes, she screwed the pooch, but she wasn't nefarious. So why is that important? Because Vice President Vance outranks her. He's the second most powerful man to the world as the vice president of our country. So he's giving her top cover. So he's saying, yeah, she screwed the pooch, but it wasn't nefarious. So that protects her from adopting the title, one of the titles as a villain, if you guys are tracking what I'm saying. 2, the next thing that he said that's really important, he says, I've gone down every Epstein rabbit hole that exists. I'm an OG conspiracy theorist. Folks, he's talking to us on that one, right? That pizza place, right? With GATE, right? The frazzle, what the way that one ends, right? If he's saying that he's gone down every rabbit hole, that means he's well aware of that, which means he's well aware of certain posts on certain boards. Follow Huma. He's aware of the Podestas. He's aware of all the stuff that we talk about. So if he's aware of that, think about this. When the White House or Rapid Response 47 or any of the main government accounts that are tied to the vice president and Trump, I would argue both of them, come out and do these posts, some of them that we're going to be talking about tonight or tomorrow, that means they absolutely know what they're doing. Now, we've talked about this because, again, a few weeks ago when the White House first blatantly came out and started doing Q posting, one of the things says, now that we've deliberately, remember we decoded and found one of the codes that says, now that we've deliberately come out in the open, I think this is what opened the door for make these conversations make sense. Now, hopefully I didn't create confusion there, and hopefully you guys are tracking, because sometimes it makes sense in my head, but I'm trying to shorten. Like, we could go 1 hour just on this right here. That's how much we can, extract from that conversation. The point I'm trying to make is he gave Bondi top cover. 2, he was saying everything in those binders was stuff we already had. 3, there's no clarification to why was there 6 phases. I think I know. And again, I did a post on that. Maybe we can bring that post up tomorrow night on DEFCON. And then the last part, he gave a shout out to every OG Epstein conspiracy theorist saying, I know what you know. So just know that when we post things, it's not a coincidence. We're being very deliberate. I think that is what's extremely significant. So I don't see what JD Vance said here as a failure. Again, my opinion. I could be wrong on this one, but you can let me know. Hold on. I think I saw something that was pretty cool. BT of Hagen's is Alpha. I think back to my career as a canine handler and police officer. Prosecutors are not the smartest people on the planet. They're given way too much credit in the media. One, shout out, brother. Thank you for serving our country domestically. And ain't nothing better than having a canine. So thank you for your service there. And hopefully you had some good memories with that pup. But yes, some prosecutors are not the smartest people on the planet. I would not argue that point with you. However, I would also say when we get to the threshold of the attorney general and all that, I would say that there is some skill sets that are there. Now, with that, doesn't mean that we've seen some very bad attorney generals But I don't think it was because of lack of skill. I think it was because it's absolutely intentional. And I think here too. And I think the reason JD Vance is giving Pam Bondi top cover here is because I don't think there's anything that, let me be very clear. I want everybody to understand my position on this one. And me and Josh have talked about this. I know Josh has this position too. There's nothing that Pam Bondi said. There's nothing that Kash Patel said then or now, including Bongino, including RFK, including the vice president. There's nothing that these people are saying that is outside of the permission of Trump. Nothing. Because if one of them did, you would have seen them locked in the closet somewhere, only being able to kiss babies and take photos. JD Vance would not be going on Joe Rogan if he was saying things that Trump was not in alignment with. So again, whether Trump is publicly opposed to a statement, just understand that if Trump's allowing them to do these things, Trump is in control of the narrative that they are presenting. I 110% have that position, and I haven't skewed from that. Shout out Desert Jules 17 became a monthly supporter over here on Rumble. Thank you, Desert Jules, one of our locals out here. And while I'm doing that, let me see if we got any. Oh, we do got a couple ones over here. Let me throw these up on the screen for you guys right here. Patience 8947, 400 gems. Eagle, that's what I'm talking about. We got Helen S111, 500 gems. The Sun Balloon. And then we got Patience 8947 with another 200 gems. Some sunshine. Very cool. And I'm glad I got to those before they disappeared. So it looks like StreamYard's going to save them. But again, so let's keep going. I can't wait to read your guys' comments and see what you guys thought about all that stuff. We get this one. This was pretty cool. Acting Secretary of Navy Hung Kao says, flight debrief complete. No reprimands, no firings, no problem. That's the sound of freedom. Semper Fi and Huya. Now, I don't have this video for you guys just because it's the flyby, but I will play it for you guys. Let me just hit mute on my side. It's only like 3 seconds. So there was a lot of scuttlebutt. Oh, let me pull this off the screen right here real quick. Thank you for that patience. But there we go. Now you guys can see everything else I put up there. Okay. So one, you guys have, I'm pretty sure most of you guys are familiar, have heard of the Blue Angels. Look at how close this guy has this fighter jet to the beach and the water. I mean, I've been to some air shows and I know when they do you get the one pass, that everybody's focusing on, and then the one surprises you, makes you piss your pants, right? That one comes through. This is insane. This tells you, this is like a scene out of damn Top Gun. But here, let me hit play so you guys can take a look at it. It's very impressive. Look at that. Look at that. I want to pause it. Look at that. So again, just like the helicopter pilots, no reprimands. As a matter of fact, I think it was either Sean Parnell or it might even been Secretary of War Hegseth himself came out and said, not only are there not going to be any punishments, but he said, we're going to continue to do this until morale improves. Now, that got my attention because one of the things that has been a motto on this show is morale is a weapon. And so when the Secretary of War comes out and says, we're going to continue to do this and piss off all the liberals and piss off all the tree huggers, because we understand that morale is important. Translation, they understand morale is a weapon and they are priming that weapon. Let's keep going. I wanted to share that with you guys. That was pretty cool. MAGA Voice puts out, I'm in tears. President Trump just announced our veterans will replace illegals as truck drivers. Any American that's driven a heavy truck for our military is automatically eligible for a commercial driver's license. This is huge news. This is very cool. Let's take a listen.
We're going to replace them with proud American veterans. We're going to take our veterans, we're going to make them, we're going to teach them a lot about driving trucks, and in many cases they know. We're going to say any American who's driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license. So we're going to get them taken care of. And the radical left is very much opposed to that, but it doesn't matter what they want because we're the ones that are running.
Now, a couple of reasons why I'm fired up about this. A, hell yeah, get the illegals out of here and get our who have served this country, get them into these good jobs. Two, these are people that we know they're reliable. We know they can act under stress. We know, hands down, this is a phenomenal thing to do. Donnie Vision says, Alpha, it's been that way for years now. It's not new. I've heard some people talk about that, but I actually talked to a couple of truck drivers that said that's not necessarily true. I guess there was still some like testing or things that you had to do with it. It wasn't in all places. It had to do with specific vehicles that you drove when you were in the military. So just so you know, Donnie, I heard that's not completely true. And I guess this one that Trump's doing is broad. If you drove heavies for our military, you are going to qualify to drive a commercial vehicle. I guess he's removing all the stuff that, you know, the reverse of loopholes. So again, that's my understanding of it. Regardless, I'm fired up for it. Two, I think it's a step in the right direction for other things that I think would be awesome. For instance, let's get rid of all these teachers in our schools that have been trying to indoctrinate our kids, push false history, create socialists, try to trans our kids. Let's fire all these clowns and let's replace them with our military. Guys that are coming out of our military. I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember our substitute teachers were always veterans. Like that was, again, I'm an 80s, 90s kid, but I remember these teachers would come in and be like a Vietnam guy. And he just had that stare, right? We're going to watch movies today. And it was just like, all right, we're not going to, like, nobody mess with this guy, right? Don't even hit the stapler too hard because this dude's going to just flash out on us, right? But it was cool because some of these veterans, they knew history. Even if it was only the history that they were part of, they knew it. But more importantly, guess what all these substitute teachers had you do? Stand your ass up and do the pledge. And guess what? If you were some snotty kid who thought, I'm going to sit down, not with the vet that was a substitute. And this is the kind of thing that I can think can instantly bring morale into our institutions. Get these people that are coming out of the military and offer them jobs or offer them pathways to become teachers in our teaching institutions, whether it's public school or whether it's the universities and the colleges. I think the fact that Trump made this truck driver move tells us that he's thinking outside the box with our vets to make sure that these people have employment after they've served their country. Whatever that looks like, he's at least thinking about it. And I think that's a win for all the people that don't want to acknowledge it. Pete Santilli puts out, Trump just landed in Carlisle in the most badass way possible. Hegseth and McCormick were there waiting. Defense Summit today about next-gen American military tech. What could that next-gen tech be? And here, I'll let you guys see Trump get out of the bird right here. Now, I have a feeling Pete has some thoughts on what that would be. I'm going to see if I can get Pete on this show, or maybe we could do a collaboration show. It's been a very long time since I've been on Pete's show. If you're watching, Pete, let's do something together. But there is some interesting scuttlebutt, folks. I first got wind of this it was actually before even Trump won the election, but it had to do with encryption to protect our data. And as it was described to me, some of you guys remember this from about 1.5 to 2 years ago, because I was told it was going to be around February, and we're now 2 Februaries past that date. Shout out the Rubber Duck 78, $10. Where's your rubber duck hat? God damn it, sir. Hold on. Have it. Hold on. He thought he was going to get me, folks. He thought he had me. Check this out, folks. You guys hear me always talking about the rubber duck? Check this out. Check that out right there. So, rubber duck. One, it's white. It's too pretty. So I don't want to get sweat on it. And I have a remodel. You guys can't tell because there's a green screen right here, but it looks like trash behind my green screen with everything. And you guys know me, the Marine Corps side of me is just like I'm OCDing out because I hate things not being organized in squares and rectangles, right? It just looks like a mosh pit. But Rubber Duck, your hat is going to be one of my featured hats on Studio B when we're done with this thing. Rubber Duck says recording. This is live, baby. Ain't recording right now. But shout out, thanks for the support there, Rubber Duck. But again, about 2 Februaries ago, or at least 1 February ago, get this information. that we're looking at some devices that is essentially about the size of the old cable boxes. Some of you are probably too young to remember that. But the majority of this audience here, about my age or older, you guys will absolutely remember the cable boxes that I'm talking about. And as I understood it, that every home was going to have this, and the tech that came behind that, nobody is infiltrating or stealing or mining your data at your home. It's almost like this like your own little golden dome. Nobody's going to put viruses. No one's getting to your computers. Like, it was that this tech was that significant. In that same conversation, and this is before we started getting the alien declassification, and that's why I think there is legitimacy to this first part that was told to me, even though we're about a year and a half to 2 years behind. The things that they also described on the alien disclosures, or we'll say UFO disclosures, that we're seeing now absolutely match with the information that was provided to me then. So I think their timeline was just off on what they provided me, or maybe I just didn't interpret the information correctly. But again, one of the things that I was told is that some of the things that are going to be declassified are so beyond what our human mind can comprehend. And I'll just use the exact quote that was told to me. I could show up in a flying saucer on your driveway and say, Alpha, step up, I'm going to beam you up. That would be more believable than some of the declass that we're all going to see. So we'll see, but at least we're at least at the infancy of those declassifications. So again, what type of military tech did they talk about here? I think we'll find out soon, because remember, just a few years ago, they were telling us when, oh my gosh, Hawaii, when they had the horrible fire. Somebody help me, because I feel terrible that I don't remember the name. Lahaina. There you go. And I did it before anybody told me. When these fires came down, a lot of us were talking about directed energy weapons back then, and we're talking about quote unquote space lasers, and we're told you're all crazy conspiracy theorists. And here we are finding out that not only are they real, but they're now in deployment. And as a matter of fact, our Secretary of War and our president said that they were even used in the Golden Dome, which was just tested less than 2 weeks ago. So again, I think there's definitely legitimacy to that conversation that was given to me. Yes, Maui and Lahaina. Thank you, Alan. Let's keep going. Toria Brook comes says, Iraq signs 48 deals. This is pretty interesting. Iraq signs 48 deals with U.S. companies during Prime Minister Ali Zayed's visit to Washington. The deals include rebuilding long-defunct Iraq-Syria crude oil pipeline, which could bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what I'll say is, if you want the long conversation, because this is an important conversation, I would say on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern, I do a show with Ghost called The Middle East in 30 Minutes Ish. Okay, ish. That means that show's not really 30 minutes, but the gems usually happen in that ish portion of the show. And we had a very long, detailed conversation about this here. So I would say, one, go watch that, because me trying to summarize this in 2 minutes, 3 minutes is not going to do it justice. But here's what I will say to this until you guys go and watch that show. When you look at what Trump has done in the Middle East, I've talked about it, Josh has talked about it, Ghost has talked about it, so many people in our little circle have talked about this, is Trump is destroying the deep state's ability to use fear and the threat of wars, and using wars to create that this is the only pathway to peace, right? And this is why we got to do regime changes. And what Trump is doing is he is using economic prosperity as a way to bring about peace. Because when people have a taste of true sovereignty, when people have a taste of financial freedom, when people get to see that the resources that are from the ground of their homeland and can now provide things like electricity and running water, things that we take for granted, being in first world countries, when people get to see that kind of life, then all of a sudden, the quote unquote terrorist organizations that come from their land, they're going to be dealt with at home, because these people are going to be like, the F you're not going to go piss off America or Russia and have them drop bombs when we're sitting here, having electricity, running water, air conditioning, and our kids going to school. we're looking at finally being civilized and living civilized out here. These people will quash that. Why? Why is that important? Because one, these terrorist organizations they're birthed from the intelligence apparatus of the deep state. And so we go into these lands, and when I say we, obviously I'm talking collectively, but you get the Fauci's and the Bill Gates that say, oh, you have these diseases and we have these things to cure them. They're gonna be like, nah, F out of here. We got our own doctors and teachers, and we're using AI over here. We know exactly how to cure what we got. We know how to take care of these mosquitoes. So go home with your crazy mRNA shit. We don't want that over here. And if you try to push it on us, you're gonna be dealt with. Like that is the environment. Trump is building a foundation that's going to lead to economic prosperity and peace. This is how you're going to get stabilization in the Middle East and all over the world. So again, but like I said, way more detailed conversation if you go watch the show that I did Sunday with Ghost. Then we get this one. And this is for, because I know there's some of you in the chat. I love you. All right. I love you. You're retarded, but I love you. Trump's controlled by Israel, right? Trump's baby's biatch, right? I know there's some of you in here. You might just like hide in the shadows, right? Don't make it obvious. People are gonna make fun of you. John Solomon comes out and he says Netanyahu reportedly postpones U.S. trip after failing to get Trump meeting. But wait. Well, no, Alpha. What do you mean? He controls Trump, right? We saw the videos of Trump pulling out his chair. Like, what do you mean? What I mean is exactly what we've been telling you from the start. Trump has always been in control of what's going on. Whether he's weaponizing Bibi's actions to his benefit, or whether he has Bibi by the collar and everything Bibi's doing is because it's really on the wish list of Trump because of what he's doing. The fact is still, look at where we're at today. Let's rewind the clock 4 years ago when Rachel Maddow, right? Rachel Madcow had my podcast, Little AlphaWarrior podcast, was all over her screen. It was all over MSNBC. And one, ain't no such thing as black publicity. That was true. I learned that day. I was like, holy shit, I had thousands of people follow me because this woman called me and Scott McKay. Scott, you guys remember Scott McKay, Patriot Street Fighter, was on my show. And we were talking about the Khazarian Mafia. So she goes in this Nazi podcast with these Nazis. And it's just like, you're crazy, lady. But thank you. You got us it was like almost 6,000 subscribers. It was right on. If you're one of those people that followed me because you saw me on Rachel Maddow, let me know in the chat. I got love for you right here. But again, we've been saying it as far back as then that Trump is the one controlling everything that's going on. Even the things they think they're doing, it's because he's already set up the pathway. They're making choices that they think is their own free choices. Like, no, Trump didn't leave you room to make any other choice. This is where this exists. And again, in that same show from Sunday, we have this conversation where I presented a theory on Israel's elections are coming up in October. They're before our midterms. And there is a part of the Israeli government that does not want Bibi in power because they don't think that he's doing enough for the greater expansion project of Israel that they want. They want some guys to go in there and just start pushing all the red buttons to the silos and just kicking some shit off. And again, Bibi's done enough to not really allow them to do that. Now, one could ask the question, he hasn't gone too far overboard. He hasn't even gone remotely close to being too far overboard. So if he's only doing just enough, why would that be? My speculation, again, speculation, is because he's operating within the box Trump gave him. Because if he wasn't operating under the control of President Trump, he'd probably be doing a hell of a lot more stuff than he is right now. And he's not. Again, something to consider. Next we got Matt Van Swol says, I've seen enough, man. This one's bad, folks. Let me go big screen with this. This happened this morning. I believe it was around 8 in the morning, East Coast time. So it'd have been 5 for us over here on the West Coast. But here, I'll let the video play and I'll provide a little commentary. So you have this anti-ICE protester come, dumps a bucket with some accelerant, and then you're going to see what happens next. This is at the employee entrance to the federal building. Runs off. Now, in the camera, the woman that's up on, her apartment or condo, whatever, she's screaming like, oh my God. This is the part that just kind of cracks me like, where's the damn sense of urgency, folks? This, I'm a little disappointed here. Again, I'm not there. It's easy to Monday Night Quarterback. But you see a guy now. If you look up at the top of the screen up here, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. If you guys look up here, you're gonna see there's a security guy with the dog, and then there's another officer. The other officer confronts him, ends up going hands-on, and then we're gonna get a zoom in right there, and then eventually you're gonna see some other officers that come in. Here's the thing. These same two guys that, and again, I hate to Monday Night Quarterback, but fellas, the dude just tried to light your building on fire. Okay. One of your guys is already engaging physical with them. Push that gate. If that gate don't open, jump that damn thing. It's only 3 feet, man. So again, hate to Monday Night Quarterback, but it's just, you guys know my line of work, and we'd be having a long debrief. We'll say that much right here if these were my guys. But still, mission accomplished. They get this guy down, and that takes us into this clip. And I do have the audio for this one with you guys, so let me hit play. Here we go.
Today, just before 9 a.m., a man by the name of Andrew Arabaca, A-R-R-A-B-A-C-A, arrived at 26 Federal Plaza, just behind us on Worth Street, at the employee entrance to the building, where he ignited gasoline. He poured gasoline onto the ground and ignited it with a lighter and an incendiary device. That device was a firework, a large firework in a canister. That proceeded to catch on fire, pretty big flame as you've seen on the internet. He then pulled out an airsoft rifle and fired 5 to 7 pellets, if you will, in the direction of 26 Federal Plaza. At that time, Federal Protective Services, 2 officers, a gray suit, a contractor with Allied that is employed to guard this building, and those 3 people and the 2 officers standing behind me in the blue shirts are the officers that intervened and took Mr. Arabak into custody. Well, they had him on the ground. An FBI agent jumped in and they put handcuffs on him and took him in the building. He is currently in custody, and he has been interviewed. Arabak is a former United States Army soldier. He was enlisted for approximately 4 years, serving from 2001 to 2005. He was a repairman or mechanic on Patriot missile systems. He is 43 years old. There were injuries in this. 3 people were injured, minor injuries, 1 civilian and 2 government employees. Right now, our evidence response team is out working with NYPD and our New York Joint Terrorism Task Force to collect evidence, to conduct interviews. We have located a vehicle of Mr. Arabaca's. We have seized that vehicle. We are procuring or obtaining a search warrant. Mr. Arabaca came armed with bad intentions. I will say that 26 Federal Plaza has long been a target of extremists, of terrorists, and today the extremism was brought here. The building was attacked. Mr. Arabaca was looking to injure people and harm people. He had 2 axes, a hammer, a machete, and 3 knives. Fixed blade knives. He had, as I said earlier, 6 incendiary devices or fireworks, and he had some other destructive items. Going forward today, like I said, we'll do more interviews, we'll collect more evidence, and we will, and I'll leave to Mr. McDonald to talk about charges.
It is what it is. You guys saw it. One, you don't minimize what his intentions are. He was here to injure. He was here to kill people. Okay. If somebody would have got caught in that flame, they could have been killed. We've seen what they've done with these axes and these hatchets. So to come out and just say he was here to injure people. No, he was here to kill people. That's what that guy was there for. So the entire response to this and the reporting of this just has irked the shit out of me. But again, I am glad that they stopped it. I'm glad that this guy's in custody. The fact that he had a pellet gun, does that mean that this guy was looking at probably trying to do a suicide by cop? Or does that say that this guy maybe he's got some mental health issues? we'll probably find out more, be able to gauge that a little better as more information is released. But again, I'm not going to gauge his intent by saying, well, he only had a pellet gun. Okay, what about the hatchet? Okay, what about the fact that if somebody would have got caught in that flame, no, you could kill someone. So again, I'm not going to use the pellet gun as something to, minimize what he did. So, and let me go to our cop in the chat because I saw him in here. I want to see what his thoughts are, or her thoughts. Making some assumptions here. There it is. All right, BT of Hagen says, Alpha, I think about what you went through when you watched your partner burn to death in his cruiser. I was burned 40% in explosion prior to getting into law enforcement. You more than most know exactly what that experience was for me then. And then again, what we just witnessed on camera probably hits you the way it hits me different than a lot of other people too. All right. So with that, folks, now we're going to get into the themes of tonight's show. Obviously, we're going to start off with some of the Declas things that came out of the administration. And then we'll get into some of what is coming down the pipe on this. So, but before we do that, let me hit up one of our biggest sponsors here. And this is Pet Club, folks. Again, before I run our quick little commercial, a lot of you guys ask, what's the regiment? 2 of these bad boys in the morning. Rule of thumb is about 1 per 50 pounds. I do 2 of these in the morning with 2 of these. All right, clarity. This is, you guys remember that movie? What's the pill that makes you smart? Damn, I can't think of the name of the movie right now. But this is like that. Not the Hollywooded version, but this definitely helps with clarity. But this is the other thing. As this thing improves your brain and your function and your mental clarity, it's going to start. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to use the proper words that were explained to me in the science of this. But in our brain, there's all these bridges, right? So when you see that donut, you're like, oh, donut, right? Or cookie, right? When you see that, there's parts of your brain that are firing off, making connections that are telling you that you want that nasty shit. Go put that nasty cookie in your body, right? Well, these are bridges and pathways that are not good for you. So when you start to take something like this, what it does, the reason you have clarity and focus is it's going through your brain. Again, I'm doing the ring crayon eating explanation of this, right? This is Dr. Alpha, right? Not a real doctor, just in case somebody tries to sue me, clowns. But what happens is this stuff's going through your brain. It's just like, oh, we don't need this. We don't need this. It's like when you grab your folders on your desktop because you're like, all these screenshots finally added up and it's all cluttered and you just highlight the whole damn thing. You're like, delete, don't need that no more. Well, what your brain's doing is it's just blowing up all these bad pathways you don't need. And this is what kind of helps with that focus and clarity. So then all of a sudden you find yourself, you're like, man, why don't I have these cravings anymore? Ta-da. All right. So there's our hyper focus on enforced clarity. But again, you take all the 4, take it with the juice one, and here's the commercial. When we come back, we'll finish up with the show. We're probably we've actually still got a long way. It's going to be a long night, folks.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
All right, now I'm going to pin this in the comments for you guys. All right, so pinned it for you guys over there on YouTube. I am going to pin this over here for you guys on Rumble. Let me see, pin message. Boom. All right, so there you go. Now you guys all have access to the Pet Club stuff. I invite you guys to try that stuff out. So that takes us into this. And just so you guys know, I do see the Rumble rats and the super chats, and we will get to those a little bit later in the show. I just want to say thank you guys. Like, holy smokes. I don't know if it's because I did an earlier show, but we have a huge audience tonight. Over 3,000 people watching live on Rumble, almost 2,000 people watching live on YouTube, and a little over 3,300 on the other platforms. So welcome. Smash the heart, hit the thumb, leave a comment, right? If you like the show, tell me you do. If you don't like it, or don't leave a comment. All right. Positive reviews only. Paul Spree comes out and he says, breaking, I'm told forthcoming declassified documents will prove foreign penetration of 2020 election was deeper than anything the Russians were alleged to have done in 2016, including hacking into state voter rolls, ID, and ballot fraud. Yet Ray, FBI, and the IC certified that the election was secure. Okay, so this again is from July 14th of last week, so 6 days ago. And obviously we know how things turned out, but I just want to make sure we kind of stay on the chain of events. Then we get into Rapid Response 47 says, and this is after Trump's speech, newly declassified documents show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China, PRC, carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. Remember that word, election security. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Let's take a listen to this.
First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project.
Now, shout out. I want to give the right person credit. Then the chat's going by so fast. Look up Vera Zhu. Says China also has our DNA from 23andMe. And I'm glad you brought that up. Look up. Tomorrow night on DeathCon. All right, I'm going to give you guys a heads up right now. Here's one of the questions that I have for Josh. And hopefully we'll come out of this conversation with some insight or at least some theories and some more things to look up. But when you look at this data that is tied to how we vote, where we vote, like all the voter registration stuff, right? And then you know that China took, however you want to say it, purchased, stole, whatever, but it has all the data from not just 23andMe, but I think there was like 2 other DNA sites as well. You have voting data, demographic data, and you have DNA data. To those 2 things together create a different type of weapon system. When you combine those information, does that change how people can look at elections? Is there correlations? I don't know. I am not a scientist, never went down this round or this realm of information. But again, here's kind of where I'm at is if you have all this info and you were to plug it into predictive analytics, because we know if our Department of War is using it, then we know other militaries and other intelligences or in agencies are using it. Can that create some type of predictive analytic on how to manipulate people? And again, I don't know. This is something I'm going to bring up with Josh on DEFCON tomorrow, because I do know he has invested a lot of time into both these topics, but he's never mentioned them to me together. So hopefully this is something that if he's not already aware of, we'll get some insight to it tomorrow night. So just know conversation for tomorrow. The White House puts out, securing our elections is vital to preserving trust in American democracy. Post-2020 concerns led to thorough examinations of voting systems, security, and registrations, key documents, and reports available now. And again, if anybody comes out and tells you that, where's the proof? Where's the receipts? All you got to do now is tell them whitehouse.wh.gov/election-integrity. This is where it's at. This is where they're going to continue to drop all the information into. The White House then comes out and says the U.S. election system is broken. Here's what the disclosures reveal. And now I'm going to spend a little time on this one. And this, some of you will probably understand why. Some of you will support it. Some of you I know will be hard fast against it, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. The White House, okay? The U.S. election system is broken. Here's what the disclosures reveal. Hundreds of millions of American voter files in the hands of foreign governments. Voting machines and ballot counting systems exposed to hacking and manipulation. China and other adversaries actively trying to meddle in elections. Evidence of fraud being buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people still active on voter rolls. No voter ID, no proof of citizenship required. Tens of millions of mail-in ballots floating unsecured. Enough is enough. Old black and white photo of President Trump addressing the people in the room. Now, if there was ever a time that I was going to modify my position when it comes to the elections and voting, it was this window that we just entered. When Trump came out to do these when he came out, he did this initial phase of declassification, pushed over the first domino. And I'll go full screen with me on this one because we're going to be here for a minute or two. When he pushed over that first domino in this conversation, he laid the foundation of where this plan is going. And this is what, this is what I was listening to the most. Was he going to set the foundation to abandon elections? Or was he going to set the foundation to secure them and take them back? Now, again, despite the opinions others may have, I have no problem saying, hey, I got this one wrong and Trump wants to abandon elections and this is the direction we need to go in. Because it's not about me. It's about our country. We're fighting for our kids. The thing is, Trump didn't take that position, so I'm not adopting that position, and I will push even harder against that position now. Trump seeded and created the foundation to identify that our elections are broken. They used it in the words. The U.S. election system is broken. Literally the first sentence. When something's broken, you fix it. And what my opinion is, and I think I am 100% right on this one, 110% right on this one. I am going to double down. The conversation that Trump had Thursday night and everything that has come out since then all shows that Trump is not moving away from abandoning our elections. He is not, folks. He is exposing the fraud. He is exposing the mechanism, as I have said, has been what's unfolding, and he is trying to get us in a position to take them back. So again, if you were unclear about my position, you absolutely need to vote. You absolutely need to encourage others to vote. And if you're someone who has the time, and if you don't, try to find a way to make the time, become a part of the process. Precinct strategy is one of the places where you can learn to do that. People have to be invested. Now, with that, do I think that there's a potential to have our elections delayed or postponed to a different date? There is a pathway and there is a constitutional process to that. That is possible. Do I think our elections are going to get canceled? Not a fucking chance. And anyone telling you, encouraging you, or implying not to vote, push back against them, folks. That is poison in the minds of Americans. Understand our elections are compromised. Understand our elections have been stolen. Understand that there is fraud, and understand that they have been weaponized against us. But most importantly, understand that they have been stolen, taken, a theft. And if someone came into your house and stole your purse, if someone came into your house and stole your firearms, if somebody came into your house and stole your car, you wouldn't just say, well, they stole it. No, you would fight to get it back. Fight to take back your elections. And the last thing that I'll say on this piece, because I don't want to go too much on a rant, I want to stay on this, is as we go to vote, don't look at this election cycle as elections in the way we've always seen them. Look at elections as a part, look at it as a weapon in this war that we're in. Look at you going and voting. Look at you encouraging others to vote as you using elections as your weapon system to help take your country back. Don't just look at it as an election where you're going and scribbling in a dot to vote for someone. And so Unexpected Gurgle says, why would my car be in my house? Because your garage is part of your house. Thought you had me there. Thought you had me there, huh? Unexpected. Quick on my feet. All right, let me bring this back up on the screen. CIA Director John Ratcliffe. We're going to get into him at the end of the either tonight's show or tomorrow's show. We're going to get into some of the comms in Ratcliffe. Pretty interesting. To support President Trump's transparency initiatives, CIA has taken significant steps, including providing classified or declassified documents for public release. Protecting our democracy and the integrity of our elections from foreign influence and interference remains paramount. This is why we produce key intelligence reporting showing that Venezuela's government had developed capabilities to manipulate electronic voting systems, raising serious concerns for U.S. election infrastructure. I have long publicly highlighted China's nefarious efforts to influence the 2020 election against President Trump, as evidenced by my dissent to the flawed January 2021 Intelligence Community Assessment. This is the ICA, when you guys see ICA out there. The documents declassified today shed further light on China's intentions. These matters deserve public scrutiny to ensure our democracy's foundation. The security of the public confidence in our elections is unassailable. CIA Director John Ratcliffe. I just know two guys out there that were down in Venezuela and Serbia and China and Ukraine, and everybody wanted to argue with us. And I just want to say, right? Told you so. Then we get into some of the more detailed stuff. Shout out to my boy Josh. Safe travels. He's on the road today, folks. So if you guys were wondering, hey, where's the next Red Pill Project today? He's on the road. So just keep him in your prayers that he gets to his destination with his family safely. He goes, this is what me and Alpha were talking about the other night. Chi gave the intel to Trump, and he's referring to a post from Pete. I think Pete was watching our show. It says, major breaking news. President Trump is not punishing China because China was assisting the U.S. investigations. The source of information on tens of thousands of licenses and fake Joe Biden ballots came from a PRC government official. And I believe I do have this for you guys right here.
Quite the opposite, in fact, Aaron. A White House official tells me tonight that planning is continuing apace for this state visit at the end of September. It's actually shaping up to be a pretty opulent affair, kind of reciprocating the visit that President Trump made to Beijing a few months ago. And not even the president's claim last night that China's carrying out, quote, the largest compromise of election data in history seems to be getting away in the way of this visit. And according to my reporting, the president is also not considering any other punishments on China. You know, he didn't mention any of it last night in the speech. And when we asked the White House today whether the president was considering sanctions, for example, on the Chinese government, or even potential indictments on the Chinese officials that the president claims illicitly acquired 220 million U.S. voter files, they didn't respond. And so it doesn't seem as if the president has any appetite at this moment to upend his relationship with Xi Jinping. And it was fascinating. You know, just in the last hour, President Trump is up in New York. He's speaking at a World Cup reception, and he actually mused that the next time the U.S. hosts the World Cup, it could do it in conjunction with China, which is just remarkable. You know, even though those files that the White House declassified showed absolutely no evidence that China was able to manipulate any votes, it did reinforce just how voracious China's appetite is for U.S. information and U.S. data. It talked about how China had actually hacked Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. President Trump made no mention of that in his speech, and he also made no mention of punishment or repercussions. The real repercussions that he was focused on were on the American intelligence officials who he said had withheld this information from him. He actually tasked 4 different federal agencies with investigating them, firing them, and filing criminal charges against them.
Now, if you joined me and Josh the night of Trump addressing the nation, you guys remember one of the things that I brought up is Trump was very strategic, and I think this was something that he intentionally did, on not mentioning China's President Xi or the nation state itself as the ones responsible for this. And the reason that caught my attention, again, he mentioned the Special Exploitation Unit. He had mentioned the PRC was like the closest he came to China. And then he mentioned the CCP more than anything else. And the reason that caught my attention is because if he would have came out and said, hey, this is what Xi and China did, we'd be at war with China. That would be a declaration of war against us. And so because of the way Trump went about that conversation, that's why I said that I think what we're going to find out is that Xi is cooperating with our government to provide the insights to how this happened. And stuff that may have been destroyed on our side as far as evidentiary value is probably still going to be recovered and caught on the other side. And this is one of the theory. And again, what we're hearing now is it looks like that was a pretty spot on theory. And again, if you're someone who understands the sovereign alliance or you subscribe to that idea, this would reinforce that kind of relationship really does exist. Again, shout out to Pete for posting that one. Then we get into this one. I know Josh had brought it up that night. I couldn't find his posts, but MJ puts out some great ones too. But he goes, FBI official Nikki Flores, you are a traitor. Agree completely with this. FBI official Nikki Flores bragged, quote, I'm basically running a shadow government across the FBI, end of quote, as she conspired to suppress the view that China tried to interfere in the 2020 election. She should be tried for treason, and I agree completely with that. And if you go right here to the highlighted part, I know it's a little hard to see, but hopefully when you screenshot it, you'll see. And it says, I'm basically running a shadow government across the FBI at this point, redacted. And then it says the timestamp of, it looks like 8:02 a.m. So, treason? I think so. Let's keep going. Same people that came and knocked on our doors and called us domestic terrorists, right? Should piss you off. It does me. America puts out newly declassified documents from the Department of Homeland Security show that over 250,000, that's 250,000 folks for the Marine Corps math, non-citizens are illegally registered to vote in just the 4 states for which public data have been reviewed. 250,000 people in just 4 states. And if these are cooperating states, I would also consider that these are states that have probably already implemented measures to try to minimize or mitigate the theft and fraud that exists. And even with those things put into position, if these machines exist, we're still looking at 250,000 non-citizens. That is crazy. Imagine what those numbers look like in states that aren't cooperating and have made it absolutely easy for an illegal or someone that's not an American to vote in our elections. It is going to be an astronomical number. Newsom. Sidney Powell comes out and she quotes Svetlana Lukova's post. I'm not kidding. Here is an FBI document showing that Schiff was promised head of the CIA job by Hillary. As revenge, Schiff worked to take out President Trump, which included leading fake stories that President Trump's national security advisor, General Flynn, had an affair with me and that I was a Russian spy. And right here, you got it circled. She got redacted, Schiff, and it says, would have been appointed as the director of CIA had candidate Hillary Clinton won the election. The HPSCI minority viewed the election and its aftermath as a constitutional crisis, and by February 2017, Redacted stated that all hell broke loose. During a meeting on the 13th of February 2017, Redacted instructed the staff that he wanted to drive the, quote, Russian involvement into, quote, issue into a joint inquiry similar to the 9/11 Commission. To do so, Redacted instructed the staffers to use any sources that they had developed in the USIC to gather information, which would then be made public through the media in order to compel public opinion. Now, pause there. This part's my opinion, and I'll let you know when we get back into the document. It says to compel public opinion. If you guys have been watching this show for any amount of time these last couple of years, you know that I have argued that a lot of this stuff that's going on, the psychological operations, the fifth generation warfare, the everything is because the most important thing in information war is not kinetic. It is the court of public opinion. This shows you that the deep state understands that point that I've been trying to make. It's in their document. In order to compel public opinion, now we're going back into the document, we're abandoning my assessment. According to Redacted, this was explicit request to gather classified information for the public disclosure. After the meeting, Redacted approached Redacted and asked Redacted to reach out to his contacts at Redacted in order to collect information on Michael Flynn's contact with Russia. Redacted tried to deflect the request by telling Redacted that such information was likely held by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Redacted nonetheless asked Redacted again, to which Redacted said he'd give it a try, though never actually reached unreadable to his Redacted contacts. Redacted documented the meeting with his own notes and the next day sent himself an email detailing what had happened. Writer's note provided the interviewed agents. Again, why does this matter? When we go back to when Trump did this address the nation, what did he say? That there were Americans and influencers that were specifically being paid by the CCP, by this exploitation unit, to push narratives in America to subvert Trump and to subvert his administration. It shifts someone that was on the payroll of the CCP. I mean, this doesn't look promising for him. It definitely would lead that way. And wait till you guys see the other one we're going to get to a little bit later. Sticking with Svetlana, she puts NSA Chief Nakasone, FBI Director Ray, quote, shadow government Nikki Flores, all worked against President Trump. Let me click on this to make it a little bit bigger for you guys to see. Good morning, sunshine. Do you have any reads for your FitF update? I have to leave early to go to Nakasone prep. Should all be fun. And again, Flores Nikki L, 7:48 in the morning. Yep, let me shoot you an email. And so that email came from Redacted. And then Flores says, yep, let me shoot you an email. Then Redacted says, okay, the director has the original in his book this morning. Flores Nikki says, great. Redacted says, hashtag fun never ends. Then to which Flores, she replies, seriously, we're pushing out a note today to all the FOs that all election-related IIRs must come through FITF headquarters. Redacted. That's good. And then this is what gets into the conversation of the shadow government. Let's keep going. Ezra Cohen. We haven't had him in a minute on the show, so it's good to have his post on here. He says, who instructed this NSA employee to obfuscate CCP election interference and hide it from the President of the United States? And of course, you see a whole lot of redacted information here, but the date is Friday, November 20th, 2020. And what we do get on the subject line is note to election threat, 45-day ICA China section drafting team. Classification is redacted. And it says redacted has heard, received nothing. We have deliberately massaged our one pending PDB, which is a presidential daily briefing, to avoid any direct links to the election. Let me read that again, folks. This comes from a strategic intelligence analysis, just so you guys know, on SIA. We have deliberately massaged our one pending presidential daily briefing to avoid any direct links to the election. The massive report we have been waiting on has been chopped up into 13 reports that likely will not get out until late next week. Many/all of them will be cross-posted into redacted or downgraded to redacted so that it can be more readily incorporated into the 45-day piece if needed. If you guys are wondering where this is all going, if you remember Tulsi was doing the Russia hoax, right? The RICO case. These redactions are all going to be tied into, again, there's multiple RICO investigations going on. But what you're going to end up finding, my speculation, is that amongst all these RICO investigations, the criminal enterprise is going to be the same one. Now, I'm going to try to say this without it being confusing. Russia, RICO case. The COVID, RICO case. Epstein, RICO case. Border, RICO case. Right? You get the point. Now, in RICO, again, you got to have a criminal enterprise. You got to have the crimes that fall within the RICO statutes that are there. But you got to have the ongoing criminal conspiracy act, and you got to have the criminal enterprise. So even though all these separate RICOs are going to have that individually, what you're going to see is that a lot of these players, these suspects, are all going to be the same. So I think what we're going to see here, and I don't know if this has ever been done. I've been trying to research to find it, and the closest that I've come to is, it's actually in the outlaw motorcycle gang. And I'm not going to try to go off on too much of a tangent, but you have chapters within an outlaw motorcycle gang, right? I'm not going to name any specific one just because I'm not trying to give any gang airtime. But within an outlaw motorcycle gang, the 1%ers, you have chapters throughout the country, sometimes throughout the world. But all these chapters answer to a master chapter, the mother chapter. But each one of these chapters has their own president, their vice president, their secretary, their treasurer. They're all operating like an individual entity. Now, let's bring that idea into this deep state. Each one of these RICO cases is going to be into a chapter of this criminal enterprise. But I think what I speculate is happening right now, and why this is as massive and as time consuming as it is because these actors are all cross-pollinated into these different crimes. So that means what you're going to ultimately have is a massive criminal enterprise, to where you're going to see that this criminal enterprise is going to be charged with everything. With the theft of the election, the attempted assassination of a president, with the stuff they did to our kids, J6, the border, everything that I talked about. I think you're going to see all these RICO cases kind of swallowed into one large, massive, historic case. And I don't even know what that looks like, because again, I couldn't find anything to that magnitude. But hopefully I didn't lose you guys there. Let's keep going. General Michael Flynn. These people never thought these emails would see the light of day. We, the people, demand accountability. And again, this is the email I read earlier from Svetlana. And again, obviously got the attention of the general. Press Secretary Caroline Levitt comes out and says, shocking stuff. What is she referring to? Benjamin puts out, look at the part of the email thread in which officials are debating content and phrasing of an assessment regarding China's information operations during the 2020 election. They straight up strike a sentence about China seeking to topple Trump and write that China doesn't have a preference. So let me click on this, make it a little easier for you guys to see. And here's where it goes. A bunch of redacted. We assess that China's is not at this time trying to influence the outcome of the presidential election in favor of one candidate or another. Redacted. This assessment is based partially on redacted as, and here's the highlighted sentence, as well as judgments regarding Chinese leaders' risk calculus and overall understanding of bilateral relationships. We assess Beijing's use extensive lobbying, economic measures, information derived from computer networks exploitation, and increasingly strident rhetoric to redacted press UC officials and federal and local candidates who support China's positions and perspective. Now, the highlighted part is important for the purposes of what Benjamin put in this post, but I want you guys to remember this part. press U.S. officials and federal and local candidates to support China's positions and perspective, because that's going to come in play a little bit later. But this is absolutely crazy that this information existed, folks. Our Department of Justice, our FBI, our intelligence apparatus had all this information while they called you and me election deniers. They had all this information while they called J6ers domestic terrorists. They had all this information while a lot of you people that wrote content, were content creators, wrote Substacks, while you're being deplatformed and purged and having your bank accounts shut down, while you were losing your jobs because these people were coming to your homes and knocking on your door or showing up at your place of business in order to make at least optically look bad in front of your employer. They had all this information when they did that to you and me. Kanoka the Great says, Mr. President, last night you released documents proving the CCP stole 220 million American voter files and that our intelligence agencies covered it up. There's one more file that belongs in that release. Konik. Eugene Yu, a Chinese-born man who worked for the CCP, runs election administration software across Los Angeles, San Francisco, Detroit, and 24 of America's largest counties. He registered 2 Chinese company websites, u-lian.cn and hongshengtech.cn, using his Konik email address. Yu praised Comrade Jiang Zemin, declared that the company puts political tasks first, and bragged in Chinese about running both China's National People's Congress elections and Detroit elections. Hong's is partnered with China's National People's Congress, Huawei, China Telecom, China Unicom, and China Mobile, all U.S. designated national security threats. Yu's Chinese company, Jinhun Yulian Network, was accepted into the Chinese Academy of Sciences Jinhua Science and Technology Park on January 25th, 2006. And from that point on, Konik was financed, developed, and controlled by the CCP. Eugene Yu was arrested in 2022. The deputy prosecutor who built the case, Eric Neff, filed a legal claim stating DA George Gascon dropped it for one reason. He thought the arrest helped you politically. Neff called it potentially the largest breach of election data in American history. Last night, you used almost those exact words describing what China did. After charges were dropped, forensic experts Nate Kane, we've had him on this show before, brilliant man, patriot, and Harry Wowry, who imaged Konik's devices for the LADA, signed sworn affidavits confirming U.S. election worker data, social security numbers, bank accounts, voting machine passwords was stored on servers in China. Former Konik employee Grant Bradley separately swore that roughly 100 Chinese nationals developed Konik software in China and that he was fired from refusing to lie to clients about it. The former general manager of Konik Australia, Peter McAllister, signed a sworn affidavit stating all software was developed in China by hongshengtech.cn, owned by Eugene Yu's own brother, Lin Yu, and that Eugene's nephew, Jun Yu, personally deposited the American election data into the server in China. McAllister also testified that Hongshengtech was, quote, the main provider of election software for the CCP, end of quote. On April 14th, 2016, Hongshengtech bragged on Weibo about running election software for China's National People's Congress, Detroit, St. Louis, and Washington, D.C. simultaneously. This is insane, folks. The DCSA verified this as a national security threat and forwarded its findings to the FBI. The FBI, under the Biden and Wray, declined to investigate because they were too busy investigating us. Even worse, at his bond hearing, Eugene Yu's own lawyer revealed the FBI had contacted Yu before his arrest, not to investigate him, but to help keep Konik in business. Mr. President, you just proved the intel agencies buried CCP election interference. Konik is the case they buried that already has an arrest, sworn witnesses, and preserved forensics. So why are we allowing the CCP to control U.S. election software today? You've asked the ODNI, DOJ, FBI, and CIA to investigate the cover-up. Konik should be the first on the list. Please reopen this case. Listen, Kanoka has done a lot of very important posts, a lot of great posts. I would put this up there in the top 5 of level of importance. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to read this to you guys. And something tells me that the right people put this in front of President Trump. This brings us to this: Bannon's War Room. The 2020 election was stolen and it was covered up by people in authority. That's the beginning of what you're going to see on Thursday night. Let's take a listen to this one.
Bill Pulte and John Solomon to go in there. They've been in there, what, 4 weeks? 4 weeks after they start. Think about that for a second. 4 weeks after they start. 4 weeks. You have now the ability of the president to go and address the nation. And this is just the top of the first thing. You're just going to get a taste. You're going to get your beak wet. That's what you're going to do. You're going to get your beak wet. It's going to shock you. The president, not me, the president says, this is really big news, does not get any bigger. This is really big news, does not get any bigger. Now, we're trying to get the Viceroy. He's running around. We're trying to get him because it's a big story in Jack Smith in Gateway Pundit. And I would put out there that right-wing media with no resources has done a heck of a job over the last couple of years. And I say this as someone that has ran Breitbart from March of 2012 after Andrew passed away. And Andrew built that magnificent site and put all his efforts into building that magnificent new site that's there. But you look at, Raheem, you look at National Pulse and the Federalist and Breitbart and the Glenn Beck operation, and you've got Gateway Pundit, and you have on and on and on. You got Citizen Kane. We got our own Drudge. We got every different aspect. You can have reflective news. You can have people putting out trends as they come, trending news, everything. You got a whole palette. You can wake up in the morning and go to hit your top conservative news things. You could stay for hours with the different stories and the different way they break it down. And we've got, you got Real America's Voice. You also have the One American News guys. You got Newsmax. You got Fox. You got others. You got these podcasts, dozens and dozens of podcasts. You got a whole lot of stuff, right? Did any of those people get briefed by the White House like MSNBC did? Or any of those people out there with the level of detail MSNBC has? Is anybody out there, you seen that? I've looked. I certainly have not seen it. Why did we brief MSNBC? And people say, well, Steve, you got to back up. No, I'm not going to back off it. The president went into exile in January of 2021. Do you remember, if you were watching the show at this time, exactly what we talked about and what we were going to do, and that the president we were going to rally and the president was going to come back, and people laughed in our face because it was all Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and you got to move on. In fact, there was a guy the next night, and I will not speak ill of the dead. I'll just give you facts. But there was a guy the next night, or maybe it was the night of January 6th, that stood up in the Senate and said, I've had enough. I've put up with it for too long. That was a senator from South Carolina that said, yeah, this got to be held accountable. You got to do this. You got to do that. Mitch McConnell was all saying, Mitch McConnell, you've got to do this. You got to do that. Trump's evil. Let's impeach him again. Because if we impeach him again, then we've driven him. Then we've taken the torch and gotten the Frankenstein monster out. We've driven him out. Well, there was a hardcore of MAGA folks that said, nah, I don't think so. This election was stolen, and it was covered up by people in authority. And that's the beginning of what you're going to see on Thursday night. So they can sit there and yammer all they want. You're going to see about the 2020 election. And President Trump, he's already dropping a bomb on Ossoff. Ossoff already running for president. Drop a bomb and say, yo, Ossoff, I'm not so sure you're that legitimate today. Well, Biden wasn't legitimate. In fact, you want to, and I said this back in January of 2021, you want to talk about mind-numbing complexity? Think about the civil legal issues we have from Biden not being the legitimate, if it's true that he was an illegitimate regime of which the War Room said over and over and over again, if that's the case, how complicated is that in civil court, that everything he did was illegitimate? How are you going to unwind that? I don't know. It's easier to do that, or you got to make that effort to do that, to face the facts that the 2020 election was stolen. You had foreign interference, and you had apparatuses that you, the taxpayer, pay for, that just sat there and willingly looked the other way.
Pretty solid assessment. Remember, this is 2 days in advance of Trump's speech. Bannon posts this on the 14th. So, and I saw that I was catching up on the conversation with you guys in the chat. I saw somebody said, "Is Bannon good or bad?" Tune in tomorrow night on DEFCON, and we'll give you a breakdown on that where we can spend a little time on it. What I will say to kind of hint the direction we'll probably go with that conversation is you haven't seen Trump oust him yet. So consider that. 2, he's made some things that other people that are considered close to the Trump administration didn't report on. And then he was accurate. He was sometimes one of the few, if not the only one, that had kind of said information was going to come out. So that means he has a very reliable source in the administration, or that he probably does have direct contact and conversations with POTUS. So again, we'll talk about that a little bit more. So then that takes us here. We get into the 17th. This is now the day after Trump has given the address to the nation and all the information on the election fraud. Gavin Newsom puts out, California has free, fair, and secure elections, and we will fight for them. And I know some of you are laughing because so did Secretary of DHS, Mark Wayne Mullen. He goes, we actually looked at California. A preliminary DHS review found 81,336 California registrants whose name, date of birth, address, and social security number match a non-citizen in our files. Not to mention, it takes California 4 weeks to count ballots in a mayor's race. Third world countries do it better. Let me translate what he just said here. We had a legal course to do a preliminary investigation, and we found over 81,000 registrants that matched their non-citizen files. Folks, what he just told the governor is we have probable cause to go beyond a preliminary investigation, of which they've probably already started. That is what got communicated there. My interest is who snitched or who provided information to Secretary of DHS that told him where to look and what he would find, that gave him the legal pathway to go and compare that data. However that played out, I think it's pretty solid. And I think what he's saying is an indicator of where they're going with this. I think it's a pretty big deal. Let's keep going because we probably got about another hour in us, and then whatever's left over, maybe half an hour. I'll find us a good point because I don't want to miss up the conversation or the other stuff either. Eric puts out, now Harmeet Dillon has just moved to purge 1 million dirty voter names off California's voter rolls with Judicial Watch per Tom Fitton. Great news. Thank you for fighting daily to secure our elections, Harmeet Dillon. This is how we keep a republic, clean up the rolls, pass the Save America Act. You guys know my position on that, but let's take a listen. This is real short.
Machines and integrity. Can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect and tell
Well,
the
I'd
audience
rather
in
save
America?
it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to
Why
say
should people
also.
watch, though?
But I'd rather save it, but it's really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah?
Again, without free and fair elections, you don't have a country, which means he wants to give us free and fair elections, not abandon them. Real America's Voice put out John Solomon. He's been absolute fire. if there's one, listen, I love that you guys follow the AlphaWarrior Show, but if you're someone that's like, I just don't have time in the day for all this and I can only follow one person, I would love to put my name at the top of that list. But I would say if you can only follow one person, follow John Solomon, folks. At least between now and November 3rd. If you can only choose one, choose him. Make me number 2 on that list, and I would appreciate it. Solomon, this is just the beginning. Let me play this clip for you guys. This is a little bit longer. This is a few minutes.
I think I can speak for the country to thank Bill Pulte and yourself and your task force. What you accomplished, this speech tonight on the work that you guys have done in the last, 3.5, 4 weeks, after 6 years of this nonsense, as we now know, goes even back that maybe to 2018 or before, is just nothing short of monumental and heroic. So first off, I want to give you guys a thanks for giving the president finally the information from the intelligence to do it. Tell us about it. What did you think of the speech?
Yeah. First off, President Trump deserves the credit for allowing this to happen. The intelligence officers who work day in and night, I've had people working 18 hours a day to get this work done. They deserve the credit. They found this stuff. I don't have a security clearance, so they go get it. And then we figure out what makes sense for the American public and we release it. Tonight's the opening salvo. It's the beginning of a longer exfiltration of information in the intelligence community. But what's important about tonight is to understand actionable intelligence, things that actually affected our security of our elections were not being told to the president. They were not being told to Congress. Policymakers couldn't make a decision because bureaucrats decided they were more important than a president or a congressman. And I'm very concerned about that ethos, because if it does it in elections, what about a foreign power, a war? What if someone doesn't want to tell the president about something else? There's a cultural stain in the intelligence community that this data shows. Now, we're going to have to go back and look at other issues and see if this was a pattern in other forms of intelligence.
John, is there some effort by the intelligence community in this process over the last 4 weeks? I mean, as I've been telling people, to do this in 3.5 or 4 weeks until you review, I think, 10.5 or 11 million pages of classified documents and declassify the thousands you declassified to back up this speech is monumental in itself.
Yep.
But that means at least there was some scintilla of cooperation by certain elements of the intelligence community. Is that how we're going to take care of this problem, that there are people there that are prepared to work with the president and work with his administration to get to the bottom of this and clean it up?
Absolutely. And I want to point out something that's really important, Steve. Every intelligence chief was extraordinarily cooperative. The NSA director, the CIA director, the FBI director, the Department of Justice and Attorney General Blanche. Everybody cooperated. Everybody dug in. They got a lot on their plate. They got wars and they've got issues all around this country. They're cleaning up crime and solving the border. Secretary Mullen, every single one of them took time and put resources to this to find the documents quickly. Some of the information that we found, the intelligence chiefs themselves said, I didn't know about this. First time I'm seeing it. I should have known about it. I think that's where this mystery starts next, or where it goes next. We need to figure out how actionable intelligence, things that are important, aren't getting to the people who should have it under the Constitution, the people entrusted with our security, the president and Congress. Then we have to figure out why would a case like the one the president mentioned in Michigan not get prosecuted. Then we have to understand, why did we go 6 years with election machines that people knew were vulnerable? I just heard Mark Warner said, oh, I knew the machines were vulnerable. Well, what'd you do for the last 6 years? Earn your salary in the Senate. Go get them fixed. Those are the things that are really troubling. And the truth of the matter is, most of the briefings that the president got didn't have any of this in there. There's one document I saw. It's like 39 really important things that the intelligence community found about China and election meddling in 2020. Only 5 were ever briefed to a president. Only 5. That means 34 very important things that the CIA thought were important. They were being suppressed from a president. That is criminal from a national security standpoint. Now, whether it become criminal in a court of law needs to be determined. But the president, you heard him tonight. I want accountability. CIA director, NSA director, fire those who hid this. FBI director, go out and see if you can prosecute the Michigan case. So this comes with fixes and accountability. And if they do both of that, we enter into the November 26 elections with a lot more confidence that we're having a secure election in 26.
And the most important part here, and I think it's wrapped up in the statement too, is the fact that disclosures and accountability are on the horizon. Again, if you guys remember, John Solomon a few weeks ago says, hey, I want to be very transparent. I'm taking an unpaid role as a government employee. because I'm going to help kind of facilitate through these. In other words, he's going to help be part of the Declas. He's come out on a few of the other mainstream outlets where they've asked him questions, especially leading up into Trump's address the nation. And he was tight-lipped, says, given my position, I'm not going to provide that. Why? Because he knows there's more coming. And so if there's one man that we know has insight to exactly what they're reviewing, it's John Solomon. And so when he comes out and he says accountability and disclosures are coming, folks, why would you not believe him? He's literally working with them, and he's the one guy that we know that's in a position to know. I don't get black pillars and doomers right now who are trying to strip away credibility from John Solomon. I don't get it. But again, then there's this. This was on the evening of the Address the Nation, and then we get into this conversation from them the following day. Pepe Deluxe, another great anon that's out there. We put Solomon, you haven't seen everything yet. John Solomon says additional intelligence is being prepared for release, including unredacted information on major data breaches that he says the public should be scared about. Let's take a listen to this one. This one's short.
The NSA has never before released raw or these summary reports of their best raw intelligence that they believe. Very sensitive stuff. It identifies who's listening and who they're listening to and what they're doing and what they're intercepting. We kept all of the content things available for the public that would help you understand the story that the NSA had gotten from the intercepts without saying that they're listening to this guy on this date or at this station or using this technology. Now, there is some stuff about voter data breaches involving other databases, particularly that one that shows the 220 million. We're working with the intelligence agencies to get that unredacted because there's some other big data breaches that we should also be secured about that aren't even election related, but they affect our safety and our well-being, and we're working to get those things. So I think that version will get unredacted. Everything else in those NSA intercepts are all about, we were listening to this guy at this time, at this post, using this technology. That's not the stuff we want to give our enemies.
Now, the part here, this goes back to the conversation we had earlier tonight. He says, now, some of those data breaches that we should be scared about are not election related, but we should be scared about them. Is he referencing the 23andMe stuff? I don't know. But again, there is some data that is of some value and importance to Americans that China breached that's not related to elections. Very curious to see where this is going to go. And obviously, we're going to find out because he said this is going to be part of future releases. And again, I'll wait till we get to the end of this segment to kind of break down why such a long-winded portion of the show. Because I know we are spending a lot of time here, but it's important. And I hope to make you guys understand why when we get there. John Solomon posted this picture of him and POTUS. I'd like to thank POTUS for entrusting me with taking a deep dive into the documents that were released last night during his address. Again, I just saw this more of John Solomon firing back against those that have been trying to attack his credibility. And again, I don't get it because it's coming from some people that I know are not bad. I just don't understand why the active attempt to minimize the level of importance that John Solomon has. Let's keep firing off here. John Solomon, hey, Barry Weiss. Now, I love this post. Some of you are going to disagree with me. You guys remember when Elon first took over Twitter in the early days of X, and we were talking about the Twitter files. And my argument was, why are they bringing in certain people to analyze the huge, massive amount of the Twitter files? Just go full blown transparent, put the cloud out there. Let us all be able to grab that, look into it, and we'll decide what's important. But there were certain characters, Barry Weiss being one of those, that were part of that group that went in there. And I said, this is controlled opposition. These people aren't talking about the stuff that we need. They are being the gatekeepers of what's in the Twitter files. I had huge issues with this, and this was one of the conflicts that I had with Elon early on in his acquisition of Twitter. Remember that as I read this, for those of you that didn't read ahead, cheaters. John Solomon says, hey, Barry Weiss, when Biden admin announced China obtained 40 million of Great Britain's publicly available voter files, CBS News covered it seriously. But when Donald J. Trump announced China got 240 million of American voter files, your team dismissed it like it was no big deal. Why? And again, Barry Weiss, editor-in-chief at the FP and CBS News, host of the Honestly Pod, founder of Nelly Bull's fan club, 1.1 million followers. Remember what was in that address to nation. I am just speculating here. Right? I want to be very clear about this. But I believe during that address to nation, Trump said China is playing influencers. China is paying assets here in America to push a certain narrative, to create a certain image of Trump and the administration. Is Barry Weiss one of those people? I don't know, but this definitely gets me going, Was it CBS? I don't know, but this definitely has me going, Enrique Tarrio puts, J6ers are vindicated yet again. Never apologize for taking the fight to the machine. And he's referencing Brianna Morales' breaking news. DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen says foreign adversaries can hack our voting machines. Take a listen.
We know, talking about our machines, we know for sure that our foreign adversaries, not our allies, foreign adversaries have parts that are vital pieces in our voting machines. We know that they can access what they consider the key to the back of these machines. We know that they can change voter registration and your vote. We know it's possible. There's not a question. It's not even for debate.
They can change registration and they can change your vote. It's not a debate. Folks, all those people that are like, send me the evidence, clip that and send it to them. I don't know how much more clear that it can get that these machines are, you cannot, again, to quote what Trump said earlier tonight, without a free and fair election, you don't have a free country. And if we know that these machines are designed and built to be hacked and manipulated, then you cannot have a free and fair election with machines involved. Which brings me to the Save America Act. Hold that thought. We're a few tabs away from finishing this thought, and we'll get there. And I'm going to just make a little note, just in case I got my notes there to cover that. But just hold on to that thought on what he said. And again, this reiterates what the part of earlier when we're firing back against Newsom and others. But again, preliminary DHS review found 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in 4 states: California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. This shouldn't be a red or blue state issue. Only Americans should elect American leaders. We've put these governors on notice. States must work with us to ensure free, fair, and honest elections. We've put them on notice is a legal term coming from the secretary. This is not us battling, oh, I'll put you on notice, bro. No. This is the Secretary of DHS saying that these governors, these states have been put on notice for this specific thing. This is a big deal. Tina Peters, they say no votes were changed. Stay tuned, more to come. I wonder if she has an understanding of what John Solomon might be reviewing. Ezra Cohen, the day has finally come. Americans can now see a portion of what we caught the permanent security state covering up in the winter of 2020. CCP interference in our elections to harm President Trump's candidacy. Much more remains to be declassified and released. Great work is being done today by a small team of patriots working long hours to uncover the truth and share it with the American people. Why a small team for such a massive project? Why a small team for a project that will literally change the trajectory of the most powerful and free nation on the planet, I think the question would be is how skilled and how important is that small team, followed by who is that small team? And would it be a team of less than 10? Let's keep going. If you know, you know, for those that caught that. IT-17 says executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the United States election. Let me open up this image in a new tab to make it a little easier to read. Here we go. That's a little too big. But here we go. This is from September 12th, 2018. By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the ability of persons located in whole or in substantial part outside of the United States to interfere in or undermine public confidence in the United States elections, including through the unauthorized access of election and campaign infrastructure or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security and foreign policy of the United States. Now, what we have there is exactly what he talked about in his address to the nation. CCP paying influencers to subvert and push propaganda. So let's keep reading. Although there has been no evidence of a foreign power altering the outcome or vote tabulation in any United States election, foreign powers have historically sought to exploit America's free and open political system. In recent years, the proliferation of digital devices and internet-based communications has created significant vulnerabilities and magnified the scope and intensity of the threat of foreign interference, as illustrated in the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, ICA. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with this threat. Let's go back over here. Folks, all this, every box that's in here got checked when Trump did that. So we're talking, because you guys know my theory, right? The Save America Act, we're getting there. We're a couple tabs away. This sets the foundation for the theory I'm going to right now in a few minutes with the Save America Act. And again, for those of you who've been watching, you know where I'm going with this. But if you're new, I'm going to make this make sense here shortly. Bannon's War Room, John Solomon. By the intelligence community's own definition, President Trump has proven that China interfered in the 2020 election. This is pretty cool if you guys haven't seen this one. I wish this one would have went viral more than the other ones just because of the document that he shows here. Let me bring this up for you right here.
I'm going to tell you today, under the definition of the intelligence community's the definition of election interference, President Trump, for the first time, proved that China interfered in the 2020 election. Now, it wasn't in the 2020 assessments. That was part of his story. But let me read it to you. Page 3 of the October 16, 2020 NIC report does something that the intelligence community seldom does. It gives us the actual definition for election interference. By the way, a lot of the boobs in the media think that influence is a lesser charge and interference is a more serious charge. It's the other way around. Interference is only a part of election influence, which the intelligence community considers more serious. But I'm going to read you the definition because it's the first time in my 40 years in reporting I saw the intelligence community define it this way. Quote, election interference is a subset of election influence targeted at the technical aspects of the election, including voter registration. Just keep that pinned, casting and counting of ballots and reporting of results. The president, for the first time, provided evidence that China was targeting and successfully acquiring illicitly voter registration. The president actually proved election interference by this definition on Thursday. And David's right. In 2020, all those buddies at Langley and NSA, they suppressed this from the report. Had this been in the report, they would have had to admit it. But Donald Trump put the evidence that was missing from those 2020 reports. David Ignatius has no response for it because he had to ignore this. He had to go on Morning Joe and ignore that level of detail to make his snow job case this morning.
Now, do you guys understand why every time President Trump has one of his cabinet members or someone in his administration go to get confirmed, all these deep state puppets always ask these people, Who won the 2020 election? Who won the 2020 election? Because they all know that it was stolen. And they want to get these people on record in order to make their argument when these cases are brought against them. Even you said that he won, which is why in this administration, you've all seen them either not answer it the way they want or answer it in, we have a process and Biden entered the presidency. None of them gave these people the out that they wanted to use as an excuse when the indictments come for them. I hope that makes sense to you. If you're like, why do they always ask them that stupid question? Why? This is why. They wanted them on official record to give them an out when the indictments come for them because they know that they are coming. Last one on this one, and then we'll get into my summary of why. The SCIF puts out, and this is an important one. Christopher Wray's FBI even shut down Border Patrol after evidence of China's meddling in the 2020 election was found with tens of thousands of fake IDs for fraudulent votes for Joe Biden.
The FBI got credible intelligence that China was sending fake driver's licenses into the United States to create fake mail-in ballots. The CPB intercepted some of the fake driver's licenses. The FBI pulled back its investigation. In fact, ordered other intelligence agencies they had shared the intelligence with to destroy their intelligence report, get rid of any of the evidence of what the suspicion was. Your thoughts about that era of time with Chris Wray and the FBI and how we fixed it under Kash Patel?
Yes, and this is one of those things. And you know, John, what is so amazing is we heard these tidbits about China trying to do something with fraudulent ballots to go into these states that were toss-up states and throw the election. So we were hearing that, but then there was nothing that was done, and the FBI said there is nothing to it. It's internet rumor. We all remember that. And now we find out, just as we're finding out in many things, much of this internet rumor are things that would be slipping out by a whistleblower, which of course the Biden administration would quickly discredit those individuals. Well, it's true. And I was really grateful that you all broke this report yesterday, because this is something that is lingered out there from the 2020 elections. And the fact that Border Patrol actually found some of this and tried to have it investigated, and the FBI said, don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Insanity. We are about to breach the 2.5 hour mark here in a few seconds. So I'm going to do this next segment that goes into the people that didn't broadcast it. And then tomorrow, Tuesday nights, Just Alpha 2.0, we will finish the remainder of tonight's show. So tomorrow's show is going to incorporate the CCP puppets. It's going to incorporate the Candace Owens update. And it's also going to incorporate the comms from tonight. And then again, with the bonus show on the tail end of that. But I want to make sure we keep this show as close to under 3 hours as possible, so more people watch it. And I hope you guys understand. And I think if you guys are on the East Coast, you're probably like, yeah, thanks, because I'm tired. Also, I've had a lot of requests from you guys to play the video of the song that I made. My lyrics, but AI is the one that made the music, because I can't sing. Let's just be very clear about that. So I played it twice last week. I try not to do videos on repeat, but if you guys really enjoyed that and you want to hear that song on the way out tonight, and we're going to get to the Rumble Rats and the Super Chats. I'm not forgetting any of that stuff, and we'll close out in prayer. But if you guys want to hear any of that, or I'm sorry, if you guys want to hear that song, just let me know. Hey, Alpha, play it, or do the song video again. And I'll just say thank you if you guys appreciated that. But I just don't want to make you guys keep watching the same thing over and over. But a lot of you actually shared some cool stories with that. So if you were aware of what would happen, you realize that there were some broadcasting stations that did not want to play Trump's addressing the nation, and some that even did still cut away from it to let the talking heads talk about it. And we're talking, this is a president addressing the nation. And even if you say, well, we didn't know it was going to be about election because nobody knows, the second you realize he was talking about it, any news organization in the past would have said, breaking news, we're cutting to the president who's speaking on this because it's that significant. And they failed to do so. With that understanding, let's look at Bethany O'Leary's post here. Trump and the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, are going after broadcast licenses for biased networks like CNN. No more letting fake news run unchecked. This is what accountability in media looks like. About time. Do you really think there were going to, do you really think there will be accountability though? What do you think? I think there will be, although, do I think there's going to be a suspension of licenses? I don't think they're going to go that far. I think they'll show an escalation of warning. I think we're going to see fines. I think we'll see some people that get fired. But more importantly, is some of the stuff we did see right out of the gate. Let's go to Bannon's war room. Big CBS News. President Trump to show evidence of CCP involvement in stealing the 2020 election, and CIA knew it. And so you got the CBS dropping this article. Trump to allege Chinese meddling in the U.S. elections. Primetime speech, sources say. So again, why is that important? Because it means that they cannot use the excuse that, well, we didn't know. Well, you reported on it before he did the speech. Why didn't you report on it when he did the speech? And I love the fact that you guys are saying play it. You guys are such an awesome audience. Which then brings us to this. Daniel knows a lot. If you guys watched Q After Hours last night with me and Josh over there on Badlands, you saw this video. National Emergency Broadcast, Media Blackout Necessary, General Michael Flynn. Let me play this. It's 2 minutes and 27 seconds, and then we'll talk about it. And then after that, we'll get into our super chats, our Rumble rants, and we'll say a prayer, and then we'll exit out tonight. But this is an important one here, so let's take a listen.
But, have you ever heard of and you've seen them, a national emergency broadcast?
Yeah.
Where, all of a sudden, everything stops and the United States government comes in and goes, there's an alert.
Yeah.
Okay? So the U.S. government has extraordinary capabilities.
But I hear you. What about the internet freedom issue? The internet freedom.
Well, it's interesting because I went up to the western mountains of North Carolina about 2 weeks ago, spent a couple of days up there, helping out and just doing an assessment of the situation. And it's the first time in 45 years for me being on a ham radio. Okay? So and I have a background, one of my master's degrees is in telecommunications, and in the world of the terrestrial world of communications is fascinating if you really deeply understand it. So ham radio operators, that's why ham radio operators, there's not a lot of them, you're not going to find them all over the place, but they exist. And yet it's one area, so if the government comes in and says, we're going to shut down communications in this country, which they could do. Like the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, it is the most, to me, it's one of the most powerful positions in the government. It's a person that's generally chosen for about 10 years. It's very powerful because they own the internet. So we are communicating over a segment of the internet. That segment isn't owned by you. It's actually, and you kind of go, well, who owns it then? Well, it's supposed to be, actually, we own it, right? The American people own it because we kind of run it because of all these satellites and all these different things, like telephones that you probably might have had when you were a little kid, the old 2-pair copper wire, because we ran copper all over this country. So the U.S. government has done some smart things for purposes of national security to be able to control communications when they need to get out things like a warning, like we've got incoming, nuclear attack. So, I grew up in the days of schools where we had to duck underneath our desks, okay? So the government can do that if they want to.
So, are we looking, again, and just to put a time frame on it, this is from September of 2024, because that's when he was up in North Carolina. This is when the hurricane came through Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, in that area. So 2 weeks before. So again, this would have been September of 2024. Is the general giving us a hint, at least back then? Because I think it's my belief that he knows exactly what's coming down the pipe. That media was something that was never going to give the American people the ability or the chance to even hear the truth. And so, like he said, the military and government has the ability to go in and take control of that apparatus during a national emergency. And if we go back to that executive order, Trump puts out a scenario of what would lead to a national emergency. And we checked every one of those boxes in his speech. So if we understand that and we go into the conversation that I said, I wrote down my notes, the Save America Act. Do we need voter ID? Absolutely. Do we need paper ballots? Absolutely. Do we need same-day voting? Absolutely. But the one reason I knew the Save America Act was never going to pass or be the have all save all is because it neglects to bring in the danger and the presence of the machines. It doesn't eliminate them. And so that's why I knew that this was never going to be the complete solution, which is why I've always believed that this is why Trump is pushing it so hard, because obviously when you look at it, it's like, and again, I'm not going to reiterate this entire argument because I've said it on multiple shows, but obviously the need exists for it. So why not have it? This is the court of public opinion, right? This is to get the public to have an indictment against every government official that doesn't push the Save America Act. This is what Trump needs. Because once that court of public opinion exists and has that indictment against the government for not doing it, this gives Trump the pathway, the most powerful tool, right? Morale is a weapon. Remember that one at the beginning of the show? This gives Trump everything he needs when he declares a national emergency to deploy our one-day elections come this midterms on how this is going to roll out. And again, we're right around the corner for the deadline of the Save America Act. It is the first week of August. I always say the 3rd, and then someone says, no, it's 6, and then it's whatever. The first week of August is the deadline for the Save America Act. And it's my opinion, this thing is not going to pass. We're going to have every reason. Again, there's going to be more Declas between now and that deadline. Again, to reiterate that this is an existential threat to the sovereignty of America. And everyone's going to say, you got to pass it. We got to pass it. And it ain't going to happen. And I hope I'm wrong about that one. This is one that I would be absolutely ecstatic to be wrong about, but I don't think I'm going to be. And again, I think this is going down the pathway of where Trump needs us to be. And I think this is what's going to get us into that emergency broadcast. And again, yes, boom diggity, our phones connect to Starlink. We had that conversation last night on Q After Hours as well. So with that, folks, I'm going to get into the Rumble rants. I'm going to get into the super chats. And then I'll do our prayer, and then I will close out the video. So remember, tomorrow night, because tomorrow night's going to be a long show, and DEF CON starts at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. So tomorrow's show is going to start at 8 p.m. because tomorrow's show is going to be just about as long as this one, 2.5 hours. So tomorrow night, Just Alpha 2.0 is going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central. So again, that's for tomorrow's show. So with that, let's bring these Rumble rants up on the screen. And let me show a little gratitude for all you guys that supported me tonight. Shout out Desert Jewel 17 is now a monthly supporter. Thank you. And welcome to the family, Desert. You're pretty cool. $10 from the Rubber Duck. Where's your hat? Where's your Rubber Duck hat? Let me pull that out one more time in case you guys weren't here when I showed it. There it is. Super cool hat. And it's got an engraving here. And just so you guys know, and actually, I'll throw the website in the comments. He only made 500 of these. This one's number 160. Alpha, love you, brother. Where we go one, we go all. Pretty cool. Even got the autograph one. So again, this was just, and then on the back, so when you guys go to order yours, you got the red pill right there too. Again, too much of a nice hat for me to put it on my sweaty mug. So that'll be one of the ones featured in Studio B when it comes out. So again, thank you for the hat and the support, Rubber Duck. One of the best anons out there, folks. $2 from Larry, 5673. The new Nikes got here on time. LOL. Maybe worth it. Keep up the great work. Mine show up tomorrow. So I'm waiting on mine. Larry, let me know what you think of them. I'm telling you, if you went and got them, freaking super comfortable. Unless you're just jiving me and making fun of my story, Larry. But if you actually went and got them too, let me know, because those shoes are freaking They're like pillows on my feet. $20 from T Woodward 216. Thank you for being on the front line of this information warfare. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. Thank you, T Wood. Al Mevins gifted 5 subscriptions. Thank you for that. And a thank you from everyone that was on the receiving end of that. $20 again from T Woodward 216. I am from the volunteer state, Tennessee. Go Big Orange. I got a funny Tennessee story regarding my best friend, Tobin. And I'll share that to one of these other nights. We have tonight's long, and I want to get to this stuff. But just you got one of you guys remind me sometime this week to share the Alabama Tennessee story. I think you guys will appreciate it. It's also the day that I met my best friend. This was day one of a relationship with my best bud Tobin, and he doesn't stay up this late, so he watches the replay. So when you're watching the replay, I love you, bro. Hope you're doing good. $2 from ZBM. Should make sure vets who become teachers don't have PTSD. My mom's teacher was a non-vet, and the kids would drop books to make him hit the deck. Poor man had to quiet because the kids were so cruel. Please tell me he was not in Southern California, because I might have been one of them rotten kids. Troll Alpha. Who's the troll? I am Mod. I'm gonna. Oh, somebody. That's what I'm saying. My Mod took care of the troll. There you guys go. Thank you, Mod. Let's keep pushing through. But yes, I agree. We got to make sure that our vets that are going to be teaching amongst our students don't have any major PTSD. Because there are levels to PTSD. I think everybody that comes back from war is going to have levels of PTSD, but we got to make sure that these are, people that can operate, within the scope of their duties. But there's great people out there that do fantastic work, and there's part of their life that's a scar. $1 from Georgia Peach 828. Of the 220 million stolen voter records, I wonder what the Republican Democrat Party preference ratio is. That's a great question, Georgia Peach. I would speculate that they're probably not in the favor of Republicans at all. That's a great one. $100 coming in from the Boom Diggity. Can you guys listen? Can you all show the Boom Diggity some love in the chat? I mean, this woman doesn't just support my channel. She supports a lot of channels. And $100 ain't a little bit of money. And you guys have no idea how much this helps us out. So you guys show her some appreciation. This makes things like this, they all make a difference, but show Boom some love. Alpha, I replied to your great X post yesterday. I think your audience is the soul train, meaning people with soul connection. Eyes to see, ears to hear, soul to know. The song Ain't No Stopping Us Now. I read that with the emojis. I'm proud of myself on that one, Diggity. I'm proud. I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna bring that post up tomorrow night, because I think I think you reminded me of, that's a good post to share with the audience. So give me 1 second. If I don't make my notes, I'll forget, folks, because there's so much on my desk coming in. So thanks for reminding me about that one, Boom Diggity. $17. Keck. True deplorable. Yes, Alpha. Regarding the chapters, when asked if he has evidence of the 2020 election fraud, Cash told Maria yes, and that it will be wrapped up into one grand conspiracy case. Was that Maria Zach? And if so, what show was that? Because I would love to grab that clip. So I don't want to task you with any work, True. But if you can tell me what episode that was, or at least the timestamp, so I can go and grab that, I would appreciate that so much. But thank you for sharing that with me. I'd like to use that clip, if not tomorrow, in one of the future shows. $20 coming in from our Broadway Alpha. Thanks for keeping us informed and encouraging everyone to work harder to help bring this country back on track. Thank you for the support for that, our Broadway. And again, I got little ones just like a lot of you do. And for those of you that don't have little ones, chances are you have nieces and nephews, or chances are you have friends that have kids. Like, there are going to be some little ones that mean something to your life. And we got to work, folks. We got to work. Saint Masshole gifted 5 subscriptions. Love that name. Love that name so much. Saint Masshole, you're definitely going to want to tune in tomorrow night's show, because your name will have some relevance in tomorrow night's show. So let's pull the Rumble rants off. Let's get into our YouTube super chats, because we got a couple of those that came in, and we'll start from the bottom. Some of these we read already, but that's okay. Patience 8947, 400 gems, the Eagle. Helen is 1111, 500 gems, the Sun Balloon. Coming back to Patience 8947, 200 gems, Sunshine. Bringing us to the next one, Occam's Razor 7939, 400 gems, Eagle. I like that. And then we have Patience 8947 again, 100 gems, High Five. I like that. And then holy smokes, Take Me Home, Country Road 48, 1,000 gems, the GOAT trophy. Take me home. I'm not going to sing. You guys won't come back. And then we get a D-Worm 6976, 6 gems, Chili. I like that too. And then we got Trauma Dog 59, 2 gems, 100. You guys rock. Thank you guys all for the support. Before we get into the video and our prayer tonight, I just want to say, you guys, thank you for joining us. A lot of audience. Let me unzoom real quick just to make things easier for me to see, because I'm a one-man show. Don't have a producer yet, but we will one day. Numbers right now, folks. Over 3,200 people watching live on Rumble. We're a little over 1,500 watching live on YouTube right now. A little earlier, we're at around 2,000 that we're watching. Another 4,300 on the other platforms. I just want to say thank you guys. Thank you guys for making me feel appreciated. And thank you guys for trusting me with your time. Time is it's the most important currency that exists in the world. We don't get it back. And when you guys choose to be here, that tells me you're spending the most valuable currency you have. And I hope that I'm living up to and meeting your expectations. But also remember this, folks. Don't sacrifice the time that you need with your family too. All right? Your wife, your husband, your parents, your kids, your neighbors, your friends. You got to remember what we're fighting for. And shout out Gugu Muck, who just became a monthly supporter over here on Rumble. That's what I'm talking about. And we have, hold on, another one. You guys are still sending love. I'll read it too. Denise Blaine, 3737, 200 gems, Sunshine. You guys are great. But again, remember what we're fighting for. So with that, in tonight's prayer, I came across a post yesterday, and it moved me. And I was thinking we're doing Just Alpha because my days blend. So I said I was going to do the prayer last night, but Just Alpha's tonight. So Marlo, wherever you are, she posted this and says, please say a prayer. My sister had a stroke May 30th. And because of that, they found that she has a massive PFO, doctor's words. I don't know what a PFO is. She is having the procedure to close it tomorrow morning, and she is scared. I really do not know what I would do without her. Thank you all. So again, that surgery took place this morning. I don't know what the update is, but the power of God transcends time. So here we go. If you subscribe to God, close your eyes and pray with me. If you don't, just kind of respect the few minutes I want to take right now to pray for all you guys. Father, I ask that your healing hands be with and have been with the doctors who did the procedure on Marlo's sister. I ask that you provide this person and their family with a speedy recovery. And Father, I ask that you can defy any science. You can defy any test results. You can defy anything that is diagnosed by a doctor, Father. You are the living miracle. And Father, I ask that you be the miracle for this family. Father, I also ask that you hear all the prayers spoken and unspoken of my audience, whether it's financial, whether it's health, whether it's family, whether it's relationship, whether it's just stress. Father, I ask that you bring moments of peace to my audience. Father, there are people out there that need you and don't know your name. Father, there are people out there that they need a miracle, Father. And I just ask that you let them know who you are and that they're able to hear you and rely on you even though they don't know anything about you yet. Father, I ask that you continue to watch over my family. I ask that you continue to protect my kids. Father, I ask that you continue to protect and watch over my relationship. I also ask that you watch over my parents. And Father, I ask that you continue to guide this podcast, to keep my ego and my motive out of it, to check me when I need to be checked, and to keep people that will help me in my path, and to remove those that mean to mislead me or lead me down the wrong way, that you remove them from my path. We pray and we ask all this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Folks, thank you for spending this time with me. Again, if you haven't done it already, push that heart, smash that thumb, support the sponsors, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. No last Rumble rants or super chats that came in. Yes, there is one that came in. I didn't want to miss it. Alaska Life 17, Keck, $2 super chat. We've never missed with the NAM vets in school. You know we did. It's just cool. May God have mercy on your soul. You guys enjoyed spending time with you guys. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the song on the way out. Good night. God bless and Semper Fi.
God, I'm so lost. Down on my knees, trying to claw through concrete, searching for something I never buried. Love stands right in front of me, but these hands still reach for the flame. If I don't break it first, one day it'll break me the same. How do I protect you when I'm the only danger left? I'm fighting ghosts that disappeared long before we ever met. My heart still beats to a rhythm calling out your name. Every step toward the light feels like walking through the rain. I'm chasing shadows that disappear before the dawn, still believing there's something worth holding on. Answer the question I don't even know to ask. I've memorized survival, forgot what living means. I've carried every broken piece like it belonged to me. Every scar became a language, every silence learned to scream. Every road I called my freedom led me farther from my peace. You were only one breath away while I was running from myself, looking everywhere for answers. You had already written on my heart. Still my heart beats to a rhythm pulling me somewhere, like there's a voice beyond the silence, breathing life into this air. Maybe I've never been abandoned, maybe I've never walked alone. I spend my whole life asking, what am I supposed to do? Now the clock is running out, and all I have left is truth. Who am I without the armor that I wear? Who am I if you were standing here? God, you're only one breath beyond this prayer. Please answer the question I don't even know to ask. I'm so lost. I spend my life trying to become someone without ever knowing who I already was. If you're still here, don't show me where to go. Show me who I am. you.